Hey man, is this Elite podcast good to go? I just turned it on.
Where's the Elite podcast happening?
Oh, that's down the street. This is like the
this
next.
isn't-
Yeah,
this
is a replacement. Like if that one falls through, then we're on. That's what's gonna happen.
Okay, so we're hoping they crash and burn.
Well,
But the Elite one's not going to, and we are
all my success has come from other people not showing
failing.
up. Yeah, well, there's just an opportunity, like a space being open, like no one else applies, like there's no competition.
Got it. That makes sense. That makes sense.
Just be there at the right time.
Okay.
Right time, right place.
Business advice with Omar.
Yeah.
Wait for other people to not show up. Maybe, like break their knees or something so they can't get there.
Hire someone else.
Yeah.
You never want to be implicated in any sort of,
I hope Bryce Lewis isn't learning, listening to this right now because he's going to hear my plans. And
last
know
I
what I'm
heard,
up to.
Bryce Lewis is having knee problems. I heard. Yeah.
My long plan.
You see, you're supposed to choreograph it, bro. Like announce that he's been having knee problems.
Yeah, they'll never suspect me if I've talked about it here.
Yeah,
plausible deniability.
You know it. I would say, are you trying to find that Ed Cohen thing?
I really am trying to find this Ed Cohen. Ed Cohen did have a training program website at some point where he was training people, and it has disappeared. Unless it is Strength and Honor.
Yeah.
But they seem to only sell clothing.
See, I wish... I'll actually totally remember, but I'm just going to say it out loud so I do. The Mandela Effect. You're obviously aware of that.
The Mandela Effect?
Yeah.
Bro,
we're going to get into this.
Are we getting... What's going on here?
Are you ready to rock and roll?
I'm ready to rock and
roll. Ryan, this thing is all good?
This is rolling, right?
This is extra.
I've been waiting.
Waiting in vain. You're ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was ready. I was born ready.
Okay, so I'll say 3, 2, what up, Ryan? Right guy. You going to say? No. Oh,
Are we going to repeat what we just did? Is that the effect? We're going to repeat exactly what we just did, but better?
Well, I'm going to give an actual intro.
You're going to actually try?
I'm going to give 68%.
68%.
68% is all I can give you, bro. Maybe 69 if it's a deadlift.
No.
Maybe
we can't
70%.
do 69. We can't do S and H.
All right, 68.
S and H can't work, and 69 can't work.
Yeah,
you're going to lose your whole audience.
68% or 70%. He never programmed.
Of course, all Shiko is 69. As it turns out, the Russians discovered 69% is the optimal percentage.
Oh, no, there's I'm just going to tell you.
For that weighted average intensity.
Garrett, you're a man of God, so I don't know if this is too vulgar to talk to you about, but I'm just going to go with it when we actually...
Have you read the Bible? There's a lot of weird stuff in the Bible.
There's a lot of interesting things.
X-rated.
It's
bad.
It is the Old Testament's like pretty X-rated, and then the New Testament... Jesus is like, no, stop.
The kids are going through Genesis right now at church, and you can't teach Genesis to kids. Abraham is pimping out his wife.
And
luckily they're contracting.
She's a slave, right?
Well, you've got Hagar that's the slave.
Exactly.
His wife comes to him
with Ishmael, right?
Yeah. They can't have kids. Abraham's been told by God he's going to have kids. Abraham, the man
what
of faith,
a sweet
seems
deal.
to not, well, he's like 90.
He did wait. He's 70
was
plus
super
for sure.
old. I think he was 90 and Sarah's 80.
Right.
This is also around the time when he's pimping her out. So I don't know what the deal with the Egyptians is and the older ladies, but they're going.
They had a thing.
But luckily,
the original MILF hunters.
They're given some sort of disease that prohibits the pharaoh from having sex with her. I mean, she's brought into his house. It's very clear what's going on there.
What the point is.
And he can't seal the deal.
Right.
And then realizes that he's being cursed because of Abraham and gives him a bunch of stuff.
Right.
And then Abraham leaves. But later then Sarah says, you can't have kids through me, so here, take my slave.
Hagar.
You can have kids through her. Then they have a kid, Ishmael.
Yeah.
Abraham tells Hagar, and this is the kids' lesson this last week, kicks her and his son out, gives them a flask of water, and sends them out into the desert. And it's like, well, maybe Abraham thought they'd be okay. Abraham has been a nomad his entire life. He has traveled around. He knows the land. He knows he is sending them to die.
Yeah.
They have no protection. This is not a time and a culture where a woman can just travel around on her own.
Yeah, in the desert.
And then they just go out.
Yeah.
And that's his kid. Dead.
Yeah.
Dead. So messed up, super messed up. If you want to read some messed up stuff, you don't have to read online on the internet. You just pick up your Bible and
get started with it.
Go for it. Yeah, people don't read their Bibles; they're missing out.
We should.
If there's one takeaway, I hope we're rolling now because my takeaway is read your Bibles.
Yeah, because I was gonna say I should preface everything you just said by saying like, Gary, you are a Christian.
It's true. I am saying I'm not.
Because by the way, you kind of
I may have come off as I hate Christians, but Abraham, though we ought to follow him. in his examples of faith. These are not the cases in which we ought to follow him. These are his flaws, which Christians ought to remember about themselves before they get a little too high and mighty.
Wow, you're going right into it.
Yeah, sorry, I cut to the. Should we wait longer?
No, that was supposed to be the conclusion. So in general, I don't know. I don't know if this works like a movie, but you go through this whole like big hoopla. We go through this like journey, this mutual shared experience over this podcast, and then you drop that wisdom, bro, at the end, at the beginning.
At the end, I'm so full of wisdom.
Yeah. Oh, wisdom. Is that the word? That's our operative word.
We can just spread it throughout evenly.
Wow.
Much like the volume in the Shaco program.
Not 69%, but between
we're not going to dig into a deep debt here.
70%.
We're good. 68.
68 is the magic number.
Okay. 68. We have to go there.
I'll do the formal introduction here, and I'll just say, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the podcast. I don't even know what it's called because Garrett is my second guest here. I'm going to call this the second worst podcast out there, my podcast, the Omar Surf Clam podcast. I have a special guest today, someone, if you guys are familiar perhaps with Kaizen, the training programs I started with myself, Silent Mike, and Bart Kwan. We brought on the utility player, Garret Blevins, someone who was actually on my channel featured several years ago talking about sarcoplasmic hypertrophy.
My finest hour.
Just someone that is highly underrated. He is 105 kg IPF lifter, competed at Worlds, had the IPF world record squat at the 105 kilo weight class, so 231 pounds.
And the bench.
And the bench.
And the total.
And the bench. Give me the numbers. Hype it up.
So
hype me up, bro.
We're pounds people here, right? Not
we're pounds.
Kilograms. Okay, so 730 squat, 494 bench, and 728 deadlift for a 1952 total. Someone out there with a calculator, check my numbers, but I'm pretty sure that's right. And I knew I had to do that at the Arnold before Christoph Wierzbecki went out his mind and beat that total like a week and a half later.
Yeah.
But I held it. I'm a IPF world record holder.
Yeah,
and they can never take that away from me.
You can't ever take it away from me.
No, sir.
I think that so you definitely know what you're doing when it comes to lifting. You also do your own coaching. You're someone that maybe, there's certain personalities that maybe build up kind of a cult of personality on social media where they might have lesser numbers and they just either through what they post. So we also talked about on Instagram where you have those greatest hits. Like, so you post just like content that gets people hyped. I call them the one lift lifters, where they excel one specific lift. Oftentimes they aren't able to replicate this come meet day, but they'll just pull like lift an insane number, whatever, and they attract all this attention. You've kind of flown a little bit under the radar. Those who know are in the know, that know about coaching, know about training. They're like, oh yeah, like Garret Blevins, like yeah, this guy knows what he's talking about. But to the average bro out there that's like, yeah, 3x10 is the way to go. Like, I want to get swollen. Yeah, it'd be cool to deadlift 500 pounds. They're like, oh, Garret?
Yeah.
Garret?
Yeah.
Hello? Yeah, so
they don't know.
Yeah, so is that an active choice on your part? Like, because we talked off camera about this, like how to approach yourself on social media, the type of content you put out, what you want to be known for. You're a funny guy off camera. When we did the video, like I loved it. You're spreading knowledge. Like, you're working with us now. Kaizen training. You're part of the hashtag Team World Domination. You're currently helping to put together the Excel for the Shaco program and understand the methodology. Was that a conscious choice on your part, what you put out or what you choose to put out, or like how you want to be regarded? You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. I think about those things and like brought up Instagram and the people that lift heavy and they do things. And, there's a point where you can do things that are funny. I just saw, was it Jimbufu? I'm trying to remember.
Oh, Jujimufu, yeah.
Jujimufu, yeah.
Don't worry, it's a metaphor.
It's hard. It's hard to read. Reading's hard out there. Any of you learning
book learning.
Yeah, learned.
Yeah.
So he's pulling out of the leaves and whatever and doing some bench presses and stuff. That stuff's all great and that's fun. But if you think that that's any sort of training or that's what training is about, no, that's not what training is about. That's not what got him there. And same as that, there are a lot of lifters who will only post their heaviest sets, and they seem to be doing heavy PR type work every week.
PR, bro.
Yeah, all the time. So I'm trying to PR maybe like once a year at this point, and that's just where I'm at. Maybe I'm getting old. Maybe I'm just old. I got kids.
Wise.
Now.
No, we say wise.
Wise, yeah. Wise adequately to my years, perhaps. But yeah, it's definitely a choice where with Instagram, I just don't have flashy stuff to post. After Nationals this year, I had peaked the year before 4 times.
Yeah.
For Nationals, the Arnold, then Worlds, and then Nationals again. And my body just got beat up. So much so that I almost didn't go to Nationals. I was just
people don't realize that how the toll that it takes on yourself, on your physical self, like leading up to compete at such a high level.
Yeah, I mean, for the Arnold alone, I think I took 8 or 9 weeks of singles, where every week the single was 10 to 15 pounds heavier than the week before.
Sure.
And it had to move at the same speed as the week before. And so that's a very daunting task when, you just hit, maybe I hit 665 on a squat, and I know next week I got to go 675, and I got to go 690 after that, and then I got to go 710.
Yeah.
And they all have to be at the same speed, or else I'm not on point. And that's where I've talked before with you, and I know Mike Farr has the same opinion.
Quiet Michael, as we call him.
Yeah, Quiet Mike, Silent Mike, the silent man, Silencio.
Silencio.
He's here, but
there you go. Yeah,
he's not talking. He's right here, actually, but just not speaking because he can't.
He's observing.
Yeah, he's observing quietly in the corner. But no, what it is sort of like a conscious pessimism.
Sure.
Where
you talked about this before. Go on. People, right. This is interesting.
Yeah. So when I approach training sessions, one of the reasons I've used RPE to some effect, I've also used percentages earlier in my career, and there's definitely a place for them if they're low enough to be done. But if you're constantly pushing a linear periodization, if you've tried this out there in the audience, I bet that you've hit plateaus, and then you've tried to rerun that program, and you've hit that same plateau again and again and again. Bench press is probably the best example for it. The muscle groups are the smallest. You hit the plateaus sooner, and it's harder to get around those. That's when you need to have more complex training, but oftentimes people will get discouraged, or they'll keep trying the same thing over and over again, expecting a different results, which, as we all know, is the definition of insanity. But they keep trying the same thing eventually until they get injured or start getting weaker, because their body is not going to hold on to the adaptations they have. It's going to start deteriorating. And it's a bad situation to be in. I think everybody who's lifted for any amount of time has been in that situation at one time or another.
Stare down that dark road.
Yeah. So after Nationals this year, I did not touch a barbell for about 3 weeks.
Sure.
And
hey, hold on. Let's back up for a second, Garrett. Talk to me a little bit about Nationals, because I just saw it recently. The last so
I gave it all.
Yeah, you went.
Gave
you
it
know,
all
you
until I was on the floor.
You know when people
Done.
say like Lane Norton says that line, like, they said you were done. They said that you had no chance, like, to get hyped up for like that last attempt. It was an epic throwdown in the 105 kg
Definitely.
weight class. Like up until the last attempts of all of the top three lifters, you guys were quite close. Like, if you all hit your last attempts, you would have finished within 10 kilos of one another.
We were all pulling for first at the end.
Yeah, you were all lifting for first. So it came down to the last lift.
We're talking about
awesome.
Eli Burks. He was the national and world champion 2 years ago. He beat me out by 2.5 kilos.
Yeah.
So I finished second at nationals then. Then the next year, Bryce beat me by, I believe, 0.5 kilos that time. The smallest possible margin to lose by. So I finished second again 2 years ago. And then this year, Bryce...
Oh, no.
Once again,
drum roll.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's had more second place finishes. Certainly not in the 105 class.
You're number one at finishing number two.
Number two.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, they're both amazing lifters. And going into our third deadlift, both Bryce, Eli, and myself, we were all 8 for 8 going into our final deadlifts. I had to pull first because my pull is garbage right now. I plan to fix that moving forward, but. It's okay. For anybody who is not pulling what I'm pulling, that doesn't mean that I think you're even more garbage. It just is because I have high expectations of myself. So don't be offended out there pulling 315.
You hear a lot of people
pull 315 at one time. Omar still can't pull 315.
135 is the max, bro.
Yeah.
I call it the professional toning max.
Yeah,
I was going to say just something for people out there when it comes to, you say the deadlift. A lot of top lifters kind of talk that way, where they'll say a lift is garbage. But they obviously mean it about themselves because you expect more from yourself.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't
mean
that
you
you
see
actually
all
think
the things you
garbage.
can improve.
Yeah.
It's what I should say is it is so far from finished.
Right.
And you may think, well, you've held the world record. It's over 700 pounds on the deadlift. That used to be like rare. Now it's not so rare. But if you want to understand it, take a look at my squat, which is higher than my deadlift, and try to figure that one out.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is just, not taking care of some of those intangibles outside of my training. I focused so much on training, I didn't focus enough on recovery, didn't focus enough on mobility, and I allowed myself to get into more and more compromised positions. The worst squat I've ever done was at Nationals. My lower back rounded. I was basically squatting on one leg. I shift over midway through the squat onto both legs, which is why I finished it. But maybe I should have like some sort of record for squatting 730 with only my right leg.
You know what your walkout song should be? living on a prayer, bro.
Just
for that, like that.
Yeah,
I know
right.
you said like you were this close,
halfway
like,
there, only using half the body, right?
You're super close to you're basically in your eyes kind of lucky because you're pushing yourself so often. You competed 4 times that maybe something didn't happen when it came to that squat.
Yeah, and as I looked back at training footage, I saw that there was knee valgus and that shift to the side, even into the Arnold training. Yeah. And it really showed up at Worlds. Worlds, I got the stomach flu out in Belarus. I ate some pizza.
Questionable
and
pizza.
the cheese, yeah.
That pizza
it was
the
cheese.
Uh-oh.
It went down and didn't feel good and came back up and it didn't feel good.
How is Belarus? Like, was it like kind of cool being there?
It was cool. People were super nice to us.
Yeah.
Other people, not so much. I think that was maybe more about them. Maybe it's because my wife and my daughter were there with me.
Wait, other people? You mean
other
part
people
of the
I
national
talked
team?
to. Yeah, they were.
I need the dirt. I need to know. You know. So just a quick aside before you continue.
Yeah.
I found it interesting. There were a couple people we trained at a gym today here in San Diego. We trained at Convoy Strength. I assumed that like. I don't know why I made this assumption, but you're a top level lifter.
It made me feel really bad.
No, I know.
Really
I said
because everybody you asked didn't know me.
No, I said, well,
it hurt my feelings, Omar.
When I put it on the spot, I'm like, this is my buddy Garret. Hey, what's going on, guys? You know USAPL? And they're like, no. But the thing is, it's because no one knows each other. I didn't know. So I think I know more USAPL lifters than some actual competitors because I'm an armchair viewer, like I'm watching everything. But also, just like it's crazy to me. You competed at Worlds. You had a record. You finished a strong second, and you did that several years in like you're consistently like at the top. But also other people don't know each other. Like if you look at the men's 83 kilos, someone I don't know. I thought everyone was close. I thought everyone was a homie. I thought this was
we actually don't like each other at all. Bryce and I have never had a conversation outside of anything.
Well, he's probably jamming to Taylor Swift. So like just before the lift. So you're like, hey man, what's going on? He's like, not now, man. I got to get my Tasteway on.
Yeah, no, I think it's part of it's because the sport has expanded. I mean, Bryce and I are actually like really good friends, and same with Eli.
Like
I was excited when Eli came back. He didn't come the year before. He's a medical doctor, so he couldn't get a ton of time off. So he went strongman for a while. Wow. But yeah, there is a camaraderie that happens the more you stay in the sport, but it does kind of stick with the people that are in it. I mean, I couldn't tell you who finished second to Nick Tyluki the year before I started competing, and there was a nationals. Yeah, but I don't know. And a lot of people out there are like, who the heck is Nick Tyluki? If you don't know that, you better look it up. Yeah. Dude's a monster and held it down for quite a while and was the guy I was chasing for quite a while. So, but people forget quick. I mean, it's all fleeting.
It's kind of like I hear today, gone later today. Well, the freaks, Garret, do you feel this? People have been talking because I remember even several years ago, so we're going way back, 2014, where I was taking a look. There was the OPA, which is like the IPF equivalent in Canada for the province I live in, Ontario. And I think the record at the time was like, at the 83 kilos, so 181 pounds, was like 1420, something like that. Yeah. And I was like, hey, man, like all my numbers together. And then what happened, actually, there's a dude, super nice guy, Michael Pravitsa, he goes to my gym. I think he was the one to break that, and he blew it up. Like, it went to 1,500, then like 1,550. Yeah. But there's been just way more people. Like, the USAPL numbers of powerlifters have gone from a couple hundred members like 6 years ago to, what, 10,000? I don't know quite the numbers, but
it's been exponential. I don't know if it's 10, I think it might be like 8, but there's like more than 1,000 people going to nationals. Yeah, I mean it's crazy, and they didn't have qualifying totals. It was just if you had a total in any meet you could go, and now they have qualifying totals, but they're still too low. Yeah. It's kind of a weird meet, but it's also an awesome meet. And I'm not, when I say they're too low, maybe that's jaded. I like that everybody's there. I enjoy the
You
feel.
want only the best. Is this
I know.
Have you ever watched
It's not the Kumite, okay? It's not the Kumite.
I was about to say that, bro. Jean-Claude Van Damme. You need to be invited by your country.
Have
Frank
you watched
Dukes.
that movie? Have you watched that movie recently?
Okay.
So, the opening is almost unwatchable. The acting
it's so
is
bad.
painful.
Oh, no, the French kid. And so his where he was going to steal it. He said, I wasn't going to steal it. You know I thought that kid was an American actor trying to cop a shit French accent. Bro, no joke. He is French. That
terrible
guy.
French actor.
So I got to tell you a quick story before you go on, because you mentioned blood sport. There's two things that I love.
Blood and sport. Yeah.
Blood and sport. Is martial art movies, because I saw like Karate Kid as a kid, Bruce Lee movies, like I'm hooked. Bloodsport I saw when I was younger. I loved it. I actually watched it recently. They had like at an independent movie theater in Toronto. They're showing it. I watched it before a heavy lifting session. I smoked it. Like that movie still, the whole, the song
225 never felt so light, right?
But on the deadlift for all-time max. Yeah. You thought I said 135 was the way to go, bro. 225 is the new 135.
All right.
But Frank Dukes and that whole thing. First off, you know the real story where like Frank, he made all that shit up. The actual guy. That doesn't matter because Jean-Claude Van Damme.
No, you can do that.
It's
anyone
amazing.
who can do the splits like that can say anything.
Bro,
you have to believe him.
Bolo, are you kidding me? You know the scene where they talk last thing, the brick, where he's about to smash the brick. He's like, not that brick, the bottom brick, and then he goes all crazy. He goes, ugh! It's amazing. It's amazing. Come on, they don't make movies
I can do
like that
though,
anymore.
For real.
You can?
Yeah, but only to people's hearts. I'll show you after.
Well, you hold on. No, I'm gonna jump, dude. Before, because I don't forget. I go off on a ton of tangents, but I know how to circle back. We got to talk about what you said. You said it's
talk
off
about
camera.
nationals, man.
I don't know if you want to talk about this, but you said you nearly you choked it. Like, so you've worked security, like campus security.
Why are you bringing up my I don't know if the statute of limitations has
oh no,
has
you
finalized on this kid that I choked out. No, we're cool now.
No, I see.
We became friends after.
Wow,
he didn't want to die.
You so before you became like
before I repented of my heathen ways.
Before you became a man of God, like all the way, like you nearly choked someone out. Like what was going like because I see the arms and you kind of said it nonchalantly. I was like, oh, okay, like
I almost choked this kid out and he could have died. I did say nonchalantly, didn't I? No, so so I was trying to take a nap on the football field. Yeah, this was in high school, and this kid threw a ball and he hit me in the head while I had my shirt like over my face, so I wasn't like in the sun. Yeah. So I thought maybe they're just throwing it around, messing around. I just chucked it back to him. So then I go back to lay down, put the shirt over my face, hits me with the ball again, and I say, hey, you hit me with that ball one more time, I'm going to choke you out. I'm sure he thought it was hyperbole. Yeah. So I go back, sleep, bam, hits me again. Stand up, grab the ball, walk over to him, shove the ball in his chest, spin him around, choke him out, wait until he goes limp, let him go down. He hits his knees, hit his face. He's kind of tearing up, and I just walk away. And that was kind of the end of it. Pretty messed up. I feel bad about that. Mark, if you're listening out there in the rascal world, I feel bad about that.
I sense minor regret in your voice, so I could.
There were witnesses. That's the regret. No, but so anyways, a little bit more violent at that time. Yeah, a couple of fist fights and that stuff growing up. Not really interested in fighting people anymore. Sure, like to fight the weights, but maybe not as much as my third deadlift, which I think is where we were going.
Nationals.
See what I did there?
Circle right back.
Yeah, got it. So. Anyways, going in, there's two things I would say. Like, it was really great to go all out. Like, I only hit a flow state with a few things in my life. Flow state, for those of you who don't know, is kind of where you lose a sense of time and you're existing in the moment.
I thought that's when you take ecstasy. Like, we
said, that too. Like, some people's flow state. See, see, I don't need drugs. I'm already high enough. High on life.
I like how you just toned down your voice for a second. It's like I
don't need drugs. I don't need drugs. All you out there,
flow state.
Yeah, flow state. Back to flow. On point. Talking points. So I get a flow state on a few things. One of them is Excel programming, which I now get to do in a larger role for Kaizen, which I'm pretty stoked about. I also enjoy learning systems, and it's why my undergraduate was in philosophy and theology. Took so many philosophy courses. If I had taken one more, I would have had a double major, really useful double major, philosophy and theology. Yeah. You get the real high-paying jobs with those. But anyway, so
those are the money makers.
Yeah, that's right. So when I'm Excel programming, which is really nerdy and bad, I can hit a flow state. I did that. I spent about 20 hours over the last 2 days working with the updated program coming from Shaco, where he is finally going to get to explain himself fully rather than these weird templates that were written for 15-year-old girls trying to increase their bench press.
It's so a gross misrepresentation of his training methodology. Yeah.
If any of you out there have seen those templates and think you understand Shaco, you do not.
From spending 20 hours looking at them, you're like, holy crap, this is unlike anything I've seen.
Yeah, they do not build on each other. They were translated and there's numbers, but those are meaningless numbers. Yeah. So basically that's not a system and you don't run them in order. And so that aside, I'll hit flow states there, but I hit a flow state basically the entire nationals. Right. Like I was rocking out music I listened to. If anybody's interested,
me, bro, two
steps from hell.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
It's heroic. You played me
some.
It is
very
heroic.
I like it.
That's more the type of thing I listen to. Yeah.
Yeah. It's instrumental. It's epic music is the genre. Check them out on YouTube. They got albums and stuff for sale there, but they also put out a ton of music for free that you can just listen to. Yeah. Awesome band. Really like their stuff. Vocals can be touch and go, but the instrumental stuff is really good. So anyways, I'm rocking out backstage and I'm ready to give it my all because 6 weeks before nationals, I barely tripled 575 on squat and I'm trying to squat over 700. That math does not pencil out. I think I would have failed a 635 if I had tried it. And basically, it's not flashy. Like, if you're looking for, like, what's the secret? How'd you do it? It's like, I went to this guy and had him work on all these stiff muscles. Which
he
was
touched your butt. The glutes?
He did.
No,
it was
real,
the
like,
glute medius.
Yeah,
He did, and
I got the same
worked
thing.
really
SI,
deep
right?
into the groin. I mean, almost really in there. It was the most painful experience of my life. I have broken my neck, fractured C7 vertebrae.
What about your spleen? You said too.
I ruptured
football?
my spleen, bruised my liver when I got speared running down on a kickoff to break the wedge, which was my job basically. And
this was worse.
Broken and dislocated my ankle. Yeah, this was worse than it all. Maybe not the broken and dislocating. That was pretty bad too. But in the moment when he's pushing through and doing the ART stuff, it was awful. I went twice a week. I dreaded that. There's very few things that I do in my life that I absolutely dread. Yeah. It's like, I would liken it to if you're afraid of public speaking. It'd be like having to go give a speech in front of 10,000 people twice
for 2
a
hours.
week.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the worst thing you can imagine. But went, and it got progressively better. It's Peak Performance in San Diego. Travis Rose is the guy's name. So if you're in the area, check him out. He does really good work and got me in at least good enough shape to go. But still, 722 I think was the squat I did, which is less than my max. After training pretty hard and through basically painful session after painful session. You'll see me squat on one leg, but what you can't see from the front angle on the film at Nationals is that when I stall, my lower back rounds before the bar goes up. And I basically did a round back, low round back, not upper that would it would still be bad, but
not as bad.
This was horrible.
Lower lumbar rounding is a game over.
It was
almost
horrible. So my back was pretty locked up for bench, but bench went really well, which was odd because bench had also been horrible the whole training cycle. But this led into the deadlifts. And going into the deadlifts, Bryce was in first, Eli was in third, I was in second. And we both Bryce and I knew we had to pull a crud load to make sure that we were out of reach from Eli. So I put on way more. My best deadlift in competition had been 728, I think, up to this point. I'd missed 733 once. I put 749 on the bar to make Eli pull 848 and to make Bryce pull 782. If I had made my lift, Bryce would have had to bump up 2.5 kilograms. Unfortunately, as I got up, my grip failed, which is odd. Also, I've not had grip issues. I usually yell strange things at the top of my deadlift and enjoy the moment.
I am here.
Yeah.
What are some of them?
All day. You've said all day is usually, and the first. It's not.
Oh, do you say
either.
All day?
I just hit all day. Yeah. I don't know where it comes from.
You're not choreographing it, but
I don't know where it comes from. I did not intend to do it at the Arnold when I did it.
That's awesome.
It was very odd, so it just popped out. Apparently, that's what was deep inside.
Garrett, when we were doing a little pump training today at Convoy, though, I heard some audible noises from you. We're like,
that's like called breathing.
Oh, that's breathing. Oh, I just hold my breath in until I pass out. Am I doing it wrong?
I'm trying to do some cardio. It was more than 3 reps. This was cardio for sure.
All day. Everyone has just before you finish off. Jeremy Hamilton, when he broke the record when he was doing the squat, I never have ever heard him when he lifts say anything ever because that's not his style. He keeps it all to himself. Before the squat, not after he made it, he just said yes to the bar and then went up and then did it. He wasn't thinking about that. Like just as you said, all day, like it just comes deep from within.
No, I could see saying yes because it's just it's going to go. You're in your state. That's when you know everything's right, and it just doesn't matter. You're going to do what you're going to do, and it's going to be awesome. So going up, I gave it everything I had. As I came off the bar, I was still alert. I saw Hanny Jezreel. He's been my coach for like 2.5 years. Helps me out on meet day, and I still don't know how to say it. But Hanny, anyways, was there. I saw him. Yeah. I kind of said, dang it, and then started walking towards him.
And then you fell.
Then it's like, if you ever just stand up, all you in the audience out there. Make sure there's no sharp objects around. Spin around as fast as you can until you can't anymore. And what the room does when it tilts at that point is what happened to me. Yeah. And I went straight into this removable wall that separated the thing. It's one of those like accordion walls that you fold up, and smashed the table that like the judges or like the refs or whatever are sitting at the backstage. So they're checking people's gears. They go to the platform. One of them runs around the corner, you can see on the video, and then they take the camera off me, which I think was messed up. I mean, that was my moment. I was still on the platform, and they took the camera off. Yeah.
But what was kind of totally different about that is I remember, I think it was Owen Hubbard a few years ago when he did a pull. He set it down and like he immediately passed out. Is that you like the grip slip, you put it down, you said whatever, like dang it, and then you went to walk off, and as you're walking off, then you just tumble into the back, and people are like, what the heck is going on?
And I'm not sure, I may have blacked out when I was down, but I don't think I lost it all the way. Luckily, Eli, who pulled after me, is medical doctor. I think he cleared me basically of having a concussion, but it did ring my bell pretty bad, which brings me to my point. Wow, it's been like 50, 60 minutes talking about this. Here we go. Here we go to the point. Here is one of the many points.
Oh, there's many
points. One of those juicy nuggets. I plan to never lift that way again.
Yeah.
I squat so heavy that my back rounds. That could have been a career-ending injury. I
mean,
I could have slipped a disc. That's exactly what you do when you slip a disc.
Bro, what is this responsible shit I'm hearing?
Yeah,
this longevity of lifting.
So
what does that even mean? We're freaks, bro.
Lots of response right here.
110%, dude. Let's go.
No, yeah, that's 110% is a great way to, one, miss your lift because you can't lift 110%. And even lifting at 100%, stuff can go sideways fast.
Yeah.
And there's very little margin for error. Obviously, when you're pushing yourself to the limit, you want to push that envelope. But the way you push yourself to your limit is by having a long career and actually reaching your limit.
Sure.
And shortcutting that by getting injured on a single lift in a single competition is not worth it.
That's great.
And
advice.
Then it was a good thing I had planned to take 3 weeks off after nationals, because every time I would try to lift, I would have that same sort of uneasiness where my equilibrium felt off.
Sure.
Which is getting better, but it took a while. Yeah, it rung my bell.
People don't realize, and also you told me this was sharing because I burst my first blood vessel in my eye. That also happened. That never happened.
Just people, that.
All that pressure, man. And that's you went basically like a true 100%. That was like you lifting max effort. People, they try and go after kind of that rocky lift where it's like heroic. You go all out, like you're shaking, like blood. Everyone talks. A lot of powerlifters, I think, getting into it, or when they see people lift, they love that image of like someone's like nose kind of bleeding and they're shaking.
Yep.
I actually respect more kind of the Yuri Belkin where he just pulls it and it goes up super smooth. Or Ed Cohen's 901.
He could have done more.
I'm like, no. He probably could
because he almost pulls 955 after the 90. People forget that he had 955 most of the way up.
Yeah,
and he was following himself. He had 3 minutes between those attempts.
Yeah,
he would have made that 955 in a meet in today's stand. I mean, obviously we're talking BS at this point because it's just different. But I mean,
but he had a good quote about when you said 100%. You were the one that told me that Ed Cohen. About would you say 10 after your potential?
So like after Ed Cohen has said something to the effect that once you reach your genetic potential, basically like you've reached your limit for wherever you're at that point, you've got maybe 10 more progressions past that, 10 more breakings of that plateau of that initial kind of hard line where you're really close to your genetic potential.
Sure.
And his statement is, well, do you want to take those 10 on the platform when it matters, or do you want to take them in the gym? And again, this comes back to the Instagram lifting. If you're putting your life on the line, round back deadlifting just so you can hit another PR of 2.5 pounds because you got heavier clips on the edge, so you can say new deadlift max, you're not thinking about your longevity.
Yeah.
You're not thinking about, okay, well, it's great that you lifted 600 and you had done 585 for. Now you're in the 600-pound club, but you slipped a disc, and now you're going to be out of training for the next 2 years, 1 year recovering, and the next year getting back to where you were now. And if you don't change your training principles, you'll never get back there. And so when I think about that nationals, it was great to prove it to myself. Honestly, as I spoke before, I have this pessimism where I don't have expectations. And a lot of people are like, you need those goals to drive you. I proved to myself and to everybody around me that my pessimism does not restrain me from giving my full effort, because my full effort is not dependent upon results. My full effort is dependent upon me giving it everything I have. As it turns out, a more strategic and better option is going to be get stronger so that you can win with 98%, not injure yourself, and then come back and have another great meet without having to lay it all out on the line, unless it's my last meet or I have something where it's really important. This national, it's like, well, nationals is important. It's once a year. You can't get the worlds without it. Okay, but I plan to lift for another decade. There's 10 more nationals. Is this nationals worth taking those next 9 away from me?
Will Instagram even be around in 10 years? What will the point be of lifting in 10 years?
It'll be in your eye.
It'll be it'll be a virtual reality.
It'll be in your brain probably. Actually, we'll just become aware. It's going to be like Skynet telling us all of the lifts of everyone.
I've been preparing this whole time for when Skynet becomes live. I just want you to know that. Yeah. Okay.
Sega Genesis passed though. They messed that up. Genesis. They named it Genesis. It's a game. That already happened.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it Sonic the Hedgehog? Is that what it? Imagine if Sonic the Hedgehog and Arnold go at it. I don't know who's going to win. If there's rings, if he has extra rings, he might be able to take Arnold. Man.
I will take Sonic 2 from Sonic the Hedgehog, number 2 from the Sega Genesis, over anyone any day. It was the fastest he ever became. The game is a legend. Sonic Mania.
Up, down, left, right, A start to get right to the end.
Up, down, down. Oh, Contra Man. I was going to say, hold on. I want to go deep, though. This is off the deep end, some would say, because you got some of that there book learning. You got some degrees. You almost had, as you said, also a philosophy degree. I want you to try and answer this question because I have noticed this. And often it is some of the people in the past where, there's gear lifting, and part of gear lifting, and also those are enhanced. It certainly seems to be the case. I'm not trying to say that I know like a be-all, end-all. This is how it was. Just what it seems like is that there's a degree of masochism that's associated with some of the stuff where it's like, oh, like you missed the lift, like whatever. Like a lot of lifters, I don't want to call them by names, but from reading interviews, they talk about like either a self-loathing, like you. So you talk about pessimism of being basically prepared for the worst possible scenario, which is totally different. They're talking about like pain onto themselves. Where I remember reading the story where this guy basically he tore his pec, and another powerlifter was spotting him. This is like 15 years ago, and the powerlifter spotting him as he was like benching 315 and his pec just popped was like laughing at him, and all his friends started laughing at him because he popped and he couldn't like lift the weight up. I'm like, is this what?
Yeah, what's going on there?
Yeah, what's going on? Why do you think when it comes to heavy ass lifting, Garrett, there is a good deal of like kind of self-loathing and self-hatred amongst some lifters where they get in kind of that state? What is that?
Yeah, well, I think some of it might be like, I think you got to look at the motivation of the person. Why are they trying to be stronger? And I think a lot of us, I know for me, a lot of my lifting started from insecurity, where I didn't feel like I was good enough. And this happens also. It seems to happen a lot with bodybuilding too. It seems to be like every bodybuilder story is, I was picked on as a kid. I was shorter. Yeah. I was awkward. I wasn't good at sports, so I went to the weight room. And maybe that's changing more now with our generation. But back in the day, lifting wasn't cool. That's where the weird kids that can't play regular sports went. And so I think some of that exists where it's like you're forced into lifting. For me, I let out a lot. Like I was an angry lifter for sure in high school. I had a lot of weird stuff going on then.
Choking kids out in high school.
Well, yeah, there may be. Yeah, that is part of it. But I think some of the reasons behind that, there's just a lot of anger that I had for a lot of various reasons. But ultimately, I was not comfortable with who I was. I wanted to change. Yeah. And even now, I can look at myself and say like, yeah, I still had something to prove to myself about my pessimism. Now that I know that though, I don't need to give that level. I don't want to give that level because it's not the smartest decision. Other people, it may not be that way. That lift means everything to them. Yeah. In fact, every lift means everything. Like some people, they haven't processed grief over the loss of a loved one. And for whatever reason, if they can succeed, if they can overcome this trial, which is like deadlifting that weight or benching this or whatever, that somehow that will make it better. Yeah. But the problem is, lifting a weight will never do that.
It'll do nothing.
It will never do that because there's always more room on the bar.
Yeah.
When I set the world record in the squat, bench, and total at the Arnold, I was ready for this, but a lot of people aren't. It's fleeting. Yeah. It was like it was there.
You weren't expecting this to last forever.
No, I was like, I'm just thinking this was just another meet. I happen to lift more than anybody else has done so far, but every record will be broken. Every record will be broken.
Not my record, bro.
Yeah, exactly. You're not going to stay on the top. And even then, you're not the same person a week later that lifted that. Like, I'm not always at 100%. You can't be at 100% every day. You have to peak. And the further you get in, the longer it has to be between those peaks because your body will just not hold that level of fitness. It'll break down. It just won't do it. You can't. So you have to have periods of rest, and in those periods, you're going to get weaker, and you have to accept that. If you can't accept that, then you're not going to get stronger, and you need to get stronger. So
like Shaco style. Where, oh man, that is going to be a shirt for Kaizen where we made him say that, and I love how he said it because he's always like rocking in the gym a tracksuit. It's the color coordinated. It's not Adidas. I don't know if they have Adidas like in Russia. It's a brand I've never seen before. And he says, you need to get stronger, like as he says it, but he means it from the bottom of his heart.
And it's true. And your training can reflect that. I mean, the training that makes sense to you reveals a lot about you, and you learn life lessons through your training,
or
you don't learn them if your training is stupid. Like if the lesson you learn is I need to prove myself every day. Where is your sense of self? You are who you are every day. You don't have to prove that. Why are you comparing yourself to others? Why do you care what other people think? Who are you proving yourself to? If you know, then you don't need to prove yourself. And again, that's a little judgy. Yeah. I say that kind of with a harsh tone because that's me talking to myself. Like that's the advice experience. I would give totally to myself.
Get it. But I think you indicated something that is interesting. I want to get back into it because again, you talked about philosophy. We talked off camera where you said you read some Russian philosophy. We also talked about books. I said like Brothers Karamazov is probably definitely my top 5 books. And I said that about the character at the end of the book. His resolution was sort of in the end we're all responsible for one another. I feel kind of the duty, or when it comes to lifting in general, it's not about you trying to have an all-time record because that, as you said, is kind of fleeting. It's about trying to push the goalposts further ahead or push the whole sport as a total kind of further along, whether it be good information, what you do when it comes to that barrier, that boundary, like you're trying to hit like a new total. You know it's not going to last forever, but it's just something, it's the next step, pushing the standard.
Yeah, the difference that somebody makes who has amazing genetics that is just a total dick and uses a bunch of drugs, or maybe he's not on drugs and just lives in a test federation and actually is going by the rules, but just as an idiot and a jerk to people around him, but happens to be the strongest one because of how much type 2 muscle fiber they have and their insertions and whatever other factors we determine.
I know when I broke the record and deadlifted 135 pounds, I was kind of rude, but
yeah, exactly. So that person is not doing anything either to make themselves better or to make the world better, which to me makes it a waste of time. Now, if other people don't care about making themselves or the world around them or the people around them better, okay, fine. You can go ahead and keep doing that. But I'm just not interested in that at all. I'm always seeking to become better, which requires something.
Sure.
One, you have to accept who you are now to then know what you need to change. That doesn't mean that you hate yourself. It means you accept yourself, but you also are reasonable and you accept the flaws and are willing to work on those. Yeah, you call an ace an ace. You call a spade a spade.
It's hard for people to be honest with themselves, and that's why I think people cover it up with some of that insecurity.
It's like if you go to a job interview and they ask you, what are your strengths? And you can list those out. And then they say, what are your weaknesses? And you're like, it means, what are they looking for? Are they looking to tell you, like, here's why you shouldn't be in this job? No, they're looking for a candidate that is aware of the areas that they're not proficient for 2 reasons. One, so that they will learn how to maximize their strengths and build a team or work with people that have complementing strengths where they're weak, and to make them aware of where they need to work on improving. I do think you should play to your strengths more than you focus on your weaknesses, but you ought to be able to do both and definitely be able to articulate them all. If you think that you're perfect, if you think you have no flaws, you ought to look a little bit harder.
Yeah, I'm going to stop you right now.
That person. Did I just alienate some of your audience?
No, my mom told me I was perfect since I was a child. What are you trying to say? Is she wrong?
Yes, your mom's wrong. Let's fight. Take the gloves off. Actually, don't put the gloves on. Take the gloves off.
No, the pants are coming off, bro. Because these pants.
We are in his bedroom right now.
So I'm in this living room, which is also my bedroom. I was gonna say you've never watched because you strike me as a classy guy. Trailer Park Boys.
No,
it's a Canadian thing. That's a little bit of my. So this guy when he fights.
Is this like a home movie that you made or something?
It's a backyard brawl movie that I made. Trailer Park Boys, basically this guy called Randy. I love the show. I could write like a whole essay on it. I think I like satire. So you ever watch This is Spinal Tap? Or
Yeah.
Okay, so that's like my favorite comedy probably. Okay. So it's kind of like that, but a guy's name is Randy. He never wears a shirt, but when he gets mad and he's gonna brawl, he takes his pants off because he says he finds them too restricting when he has to like throw a punch. It's just ridiculous. But you're saying about perfection or recognizing that you're not perfect.
Yeah. So that's one of the things you need to be able to accurately assess yourself, and you have to be honest. Basically, this is just not lying to yourself. And the worst person that you can lie to is yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, it sets you up for failure in every area. So. It sounds stupid to be like, be honest, tell the truth, but that's actually really good advice. It will save you from yourself.
There was Mr. Rogers 35 years ago. Now we have Mr. Blevins.
Yeah, we're in the neighborhood right now.
Yeah,
everybody.
we're in the hood.
Yeah. He did some pretty amazing stuff. He
was a positive guy.
He watched him and the black guy. Oh, he was the police officer, I think.
In Mr. Rogers?
Yeah, they put their feet in the same pool and at that time, that was like, you would not do that. They were in the same water. They were commingling. Like,
sure.
Obviously, today we wouldn't even raise an eyebrow at that.
It'd
just be weird that they're washing their feet.
About?
Oh.
It's like it was 1998.
Yeah, I don't know the date of the episode. I feel like it might have been even later. I mean, you got to think, like, civil rights movement wasn't that far back. I mean, it's not that far away. It's very recent history. But then he washes the guy's feet. Like, he doesn't wash it with soap, but he dries them off with a towel.
Yeah.
Anybody familiar with Jesus washing his disciples' feet will see the imagery that he's going for there. But that was revolutionary at the time because you didn't see that. Like, one, you didn't see black people's bodies, especially their skin exposed, especially their feet. It may be like weird to think about it that way, but you didn't see that on TV at that time. And didn't see like the quintessential white guy in like the sweater vest drying his feet off. This was an amazing statement. So if for those of you who may think being compared to Mr. Rogers, I think that is like one of the highest compliments you can give because dude was doing
legit. Well, Garrett, we're totally gonna touch on that because I'm not sure if I'm gonna keep that intro not about Abraham or we'll start when I say hi. But it was a great
intros to this show, so we don't know what we're actually gonna put in.
We just keep trying for the right intro.
Omar doesn't know what he's doing. Third worst podcast.
Third, I said second worst.
No, it's third now. We need to redo that intro. Okay, I'm changing the name for you to make it more accurate.
Omar Surf Clam, the third worst podcast. I was gonna say, so I want to talk a little bit about that. I want to talk about your faith. I want to talk about the school that you went to, but I also just want to talk to you about a pressing matter here where you talk about people setting world records in the way they conduct themselves. Are you familiar with the Instagram personality Brad Castleberry?
I'm not super familiar. I've heard that name, but I'm not.
I love how you're just so all out of this stuff.
You said like I've been living in a cave. I actually don't have a phone. I have a cardboard box, and I often will hold a stick from the fire up to it and pretend it's an iPhone.
I too sleep outside of a McDonald's. It's the greatest experience that you can have.
The golden arches. They comfort me.
You know what we call that? Character building, bro. Sleeping outside like as an experiment. I didn't have Boy Scouts as a kid, so I
don't know how much character I'm building in the cave eating McDonald's.
Eating McDonald's.
Probably out of the dumpster because I can't afford it. I don't have a job in this scenario. Rubbing two sticks together.
There we go. Well, I
create fire for the community. Actually, I'm the most important.
You're the most important. You're the wielder of fire.
Oh, what were the in the X-Men? They lived in the sewers.
The Morlocks.
The Morlocks. I'm like the king of the Morlocks, making fire for them.
I see you were actually wearing before this a Marvel Civil War shirt. Iron Man, Captain America.
Legit movie. No supervillain. Sorry for spoilers out there.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert. Sorry about that. A little late. If you haven't seen it yet, though, you should be hitting the head with a hammer. Legit movie, superhero movie with no real supervillain.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Shocker.
Awesome.
And guess what? It was a better movie than the majority, I think, of superhero movies there.
I think so. Yeah, it doesn't beat Winter Soldier. I think we've agreed that Winter Soldier, which has a supervillain, is more cerebral as well as in Civil War, but Civil War just legit.
We were talking off camera. Remember? So we went. Garrett, myself,
circle back,
Mike,
Omar. You said you could.
I'm just going in circles.
Are you writing
No,
this
I'm
down?
not circling back. I'm
on page 34.
Remember when you said stand up and just like spin yourself around? That's what I've been doing this entire podcast. I've
just been spinning in a chair.
I was gonna say that we went to an LA Lakers game. We got so I gotta share the story. We went to an LA Laker game. We're like, yeah, Garrett, we want to work with you. Let's get this done.
And I said I want to work with them. Actually.
Oh, you were the one. This is like
come
who
on.
picked up who? Is it the story of how we met together?
Yeah. I came and I told them you need to hire me and you need to pay me this much and do this job. And they said, of course, Garrett, we're so happy. We've been waiting for you.
This has been the one. We felt you in our dreams, the awakening.
Me silently.
Quietly, Michael.
Quietly whimpering.
So we went to the LA Lakers game. We got like the best seats. It's like VIP. It's a box seat. I don't even know how much they are because someone shout out to Jacob Ross that goes to Barbell Brigade. Super cool guy. Got us the tickets. Cool. So nice it was awesome. We're eating like fried chicken, having a great time. And then we just started nerding out, like, because you said, I forget how we got to Lord of the Rings.
I don't know if we should tell people how uninterested we were in the game. People are getting mad at us.
I was totally interested.
It was a great game, too. It was
so close. Oh, I know. We didn't
man.
even recognize till the end. But we started nerding out on Lord of the Rings.
And about the Silmarillion.
And then I went off on the Silmarillion, saying the Silmarillion, if adapted, would be more epic than Game of Thrones. I was talking like Fëanor, Fingolfin, Fingon.
I think people are mostly watching that for the nudity, and there's not as much of that in the Silmarillion.
There's zero. There's zero.
Yeah, there's
when you read Lord of the Rings, people like you get so people watch the movies, which I do think Peter Jackson did a fantastic job.
Not in the Hobbit. Putting it out there.
So the Hobbit doesn't exist. I told you that. I went like
animated
day one.
1970s movie. I think
that's
legit,
bro. Are we about to sing The Greatest Adventure? Is what lies ahead. I like how they sing it folksy style with lies. Where he, like his voice is shaking.
Hey, that was good.
Yeah. Oh, hey man. I'm about to bust
up
the whole thing. I was gonna say The Hobbit. I think I told you this. So he had built up so much good faith in the series and himself that people saw the first Hobbit. They were super excited. I was excited. I liked
first one was watchable. I thought it was okay.
It was
some of the dwarvish singing was pretty good. I think that was pretty legit.
Each one got successfully worse, which actually, in my opinion, you can almost say about Lord of the Rings.
I don't know. The second one might take the third one out.
Oh, how bad they were.
The second one. What happened in the? Tell me what happened in the second movie. You don't know. You could just skip it.
Yeah.
It was them from what? From
did they make it in Mirkwood or they got out of the mountain?
Who's the bear guy? Why am I need some coffee. There's no coffee and they only have pills.
Coffee.
And I'm not going to take the pills. Omar's going to give me half natty over here. I'm not sure it's WADA approved.
This is my living room. Yeah,
WADA shut down the company. Maybe I think there might
that's
be
what happened.
That's what happened.
So I was going to say the Hobbit bad, but I remember the third one. People were hoping, kind of like in Star Wars, the prequels, Revenge of the Sith is probably the best one. That people were hoping, like, okay, maybe you know what, like the CGI thing was a passing fad. I watched it opening night. All the hardcore people are there. It was silent, and I didn't know. I thought, like, man, this was a disappointment. But I didn't know what other people thought. Quiet, no one said anything, and all of a sudden, the guy just went, and everyone started laughing like it was such a disappointment.
Yeah. You did that sound with your mouth, but I'm not sure that's what that guy did.
That was
It was actually Peter Jackson watching
just
his
farted.
own movie.
He was so nervous. He just farted like no one said it. At the end, some people like nervously clap. Like,
I don't know for sure.
But Lord of the Rings, just getting back to it, because Garrett, I'm gonna be the one that swears. I know you don't swear. Fuck it, we're going back to Lord of the Rings, bro.
We got it.
People that aren't aware of the books, they think that we watch the movie Two Towers. They go really in when it comes to like the battles, like they're really long. When you read the books, he talks 10 pages about Limbus, the elven bread, and he talks one paragraph about the most poem. Yeah, the most epic battle of all time is a paragraph.
It's over before it started.
Yeah.
Also, just so you know, you all need to realize that the elves were not there at Helm's Deep.
Yeah.
They did not show up. This was about men.
Haldor did not exist.
Off. Yeah, and the third Lord of the Mark, I believe, comes with his broadsword. It is not a bunch of ints.
Yeah.
At that point, it is him coming across with a broadsword after he's been wandering around, and he slaughters them. And it's a show of the strength of humanity. Absolutely. So I just want to get that out there because that irritates me to know. And in a deleted scene, if you get into the extended edition,
I watch always extended.
Doesn't Arwen show up? I'm pretty sure, and fights with Aragorn on. I'm glad they took that out. That was a Hobbit level decision that they would have snuck in there.
Well, they made a whole romance, like a dwarven elven romance in the Hobbit, because they're like, there's not enough romance in this. We gotta hit.
It's not a romantic movie. It's about greed.
Yeah,
that's what it's all about. Dude. It's a book about greed. That's the only thing it's really about.
The Hobbit, he wrote also for his kid. Like
it's
something like finally
he's
a
telling
book
him stories.
Yeah, like and he's like, you know what? It's like, just adapt it to one movie. Why do you have to make it a trilogy?
He wrote some legit Christmas letters to his kids. If you read, I think it's letters from Tolkien.
Yeah,
it's like the letters he like wrote to his kids and stuff. There's some cool stuff in there. Like, he was inventive. Any of you parents out there, Christmas is coming soon.
Yeah,
and make it special for you. Write him a letter from Santa, for gosh. I mean, how long is that going to take you? You spell check if you want.
This
is
Mr. Rogers in the house.
Yeah, it is. But hey, do something good for your families, man. Be creative. That doesn't cost you jack. Don't always think about money. But yeah, it's just. He was. I think I would have liked Tolkien. He was Mr. Rogers of his generation.
What I loved about him.
What
about the same generation? Yeah. What I love about all the works and everything is the world building. Like, this is a guy. So I also like Dune. Like, Frank Herbert's Dune is my thing. Muad'Dib, the Spice Melange. But you could tell these guys. Oftentimes, people write novels, and I've read it's like some other fantasy. And it doesn't feel like they spend enough time in their world.
Creating the world.
Tolkien, it's like 40 years of his life. You could tell everything.
That's he's out there in the trenches trying not to die, trying to escape, and goes to a magical fantasy world. He built that thing up pretty good.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you're talking about, like, what is it, EA and EA singing the world into existence. Like, the creation narrative for The Lord of the Rings, like the world of Tolkien is legit. Like it's brought in through song. It mirrors some of the invitational language you might see in the Old Testament or in the Hebrew Bible.
Oh yeah,
where
huge
it's an
influence.
invitational language of let there be, and it's this calling of things into existence. It's a very synergistic, poetic way of describing.
It's beautiful.
Creation. Yeah, it's awesome. And if you don't know about Melkor and you have no idea what
Morgoth,
I'm talking about,
we were just like ranting about Morgoth and Melkor, like the devil.
Yeah. And if you, it's legit, and it's fun. And again, it's not all Christian. Don't get that like everything Tolkien does is Christian. It's pulling way more from the mythology of many different areas, Norse especially, but also Greek. Children of Hurin is a great. If I don't think you've read it yet,
Christopher Tolkien.
Yeah.
I got to be honest because I just read the review. It's like I read Silmarillion and all that stuff. I think my brother actually got one of his books. I forget which one, and he wasn't impressed. So
there's quite a few. They're dry though. You got to be committed.
He was listening to this like, oh, he talked about me like Christopher Tolkien's like listening to this podcast, and then you just have to shit on him, bro.
Yeah, right. I don't want him to get too prideful.
I was Pride Before the Fall.
Yeah,
you've read Paradise Lost.
Yeah.
I was gonna say quickly. Let's transition though. Let's get into this because I think
back
this
to
is
national. Circling back.
Oh no,
we're past nationals.
No, we're
now.
not going. We're
way
ascending,
too
bro,
deep.
into heaven
We've
right
ascended.
here. Because I want to talk. I want to talk a little bit about your faith. There are certain things people will say you can't talk about, like religion, politics, whatever. Fuck it. We're gonna talk about this because I think you are someone from the little time I've gotten to know you. You're more you're be about it, don't talk about it. You're not a preachy person. Is this something like were you like raised as someone with a lot of faith, like in your family, or was this something that you had that revelation after you nearly choked out that kid? Like, man, I got to change.
I don't think it was exactly then.
Yeah. So what's going on?
Actually, I think where my change came. So, like I had just a lot of things in my life where I didn't want to act certain ways. I didn't want to be angry. I didn't want to be frustrated. I didn't want to use people. But I found it difficult to actually live the way that I wanted to. And I kind of had what, in psychological terms, it was like a split off.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a split off where you want to do one thing, but you find yourself doing another. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. Like, you don't have to hear multiple voices in your head. It's sort of the same thing. My
voices are right in my head.
Yeah, they all agree, right?
Yeah, they all agree.
Except for that one that you don't let talk, except when you turn into Monster. By the way, was that McAvoy in that most recent M. Night Shyamalan movie?
Oh, but I know that. And in Split, I think it's called.
It's called Split. That's a good movie. I think that's pretty. That is not what I was going through. That's what happened when I deadlifted.
I just started slowly backing away. Yeah, you said,
I had to become the beast.
You're like, that was the beast within me that said that.
Crawling out. No. But anyways, there were things I wanted to deal with. And for me, turning to my faith was where I accepted where I was at. And part of that is in Christianity, you don't earn it. It's not like you do 51% good and 49% bad, and that's what gets you into heaven. Like the Christians that are like judgy and think they're better than other people, I don't understand. It's like they forgot where they came from, because the way you begin your faith is by accepting the fact that you're messed up and broken.
You're
and
a
you
flawed
need help.
person.
Yeah, you're a flawed person. I've never understood really the earning your way in. It's like if let's say I saved 10 million people's lives by feeding them, but I go and murder one person in cold blood.
Yeah.
What is the judge going to say? Like, the judge is going to say you're going to jail because you murdered. Good works don't undo bad works.
Right.
If I'm nice to my wife 2 days of the week and horrible her to the other, like one day, there's not 3 days of the week. I know that.
You're
okay.
like,
I can talk.
Wait a second.
Where is the coffee? My gosh. Anyways, but
it
doesn't undo. You can't. It doesn't work that way, and we all know that. I don't know.
We all kind of intuitively
know that. So if you're trying to balance the scales, instead of maybe doing that, maybe accept where you're at, like I've talked about before with lifting. And my journey with lifting has mirrored this, like accepting where I am, refusing to engage in tribalism, just planting my flag.
What does that mean, tribalism?
So
because we've talked about this off camera, but I agree with you on this.
So when I talk about tribalism, I mean the same thing as when I say fundamentalism. Some religions will call themselves fundamentalist when they're not actually fundamentalists in the way that I'm going to use the word. So listen to my definition before you get really offended. What I mean by that is when you rigidly hold to a belief, no matter what, in spite of evidence, in spite of new knowledge, in spite of even if there's like a revelation that you have, I don't know what that would look like, but you will hold to a set of beliefs and core principles that you will not move from no matter what. It has nothing to do with rationality. It is 100% allegiance to a set of principles or to a principle. It's like when you look at a study, that looks at weightlifting, for example, or powerlifting, and they show definitively over and over and over and over and over and over again in study after study. It's not like one study that was kind of had a flawed design. It's showed
there's
over and over
like
its repeatability,
evidence,
and you're like, okay, 5x5 all the time is not the best way to get stronger. Like mixing in some 3x10s and some 4x8s.
That's what the research says. And you're like, no, okay, 5x5.
Yeah, and being able to pull back and be like, oh, okay, well, 5x5 is really appropriate in this circumstance in these ways, but it's not the be all end all.
Sure.
A person who has a tribalism, who's like, I'm not trying to pick on starting strength, but it just came to mind. You're just like, no, it's this way, and it's like, and you're rigid in your adherence without taking into account that you don't know everything.
Sure.
And that you can learn. Because basically, if you've become the absolute expert in that way, that no matter what happens or what information comes to you, you will not bend or break, you have cut your own legs out from under you, because you can never learn anything. Because you'll never believe it. You're just going to write it off because of your preconceived notions.
You think that's something strong to have the ability to be open to new information and then change your opinions on things.
Yeah. And so it doesn't matter where you go. You can go and find fundamentalists in any camp. It can be a Christian, it can be an atheist, it could be a Buddhist, it could be anybody. And oftentimes, I mean, with these people, you talk to them and their only interest, I kind of liken it to imperialism.
Sure.
It's like where you take your culture and you go and you colonize another culture, and then you turn that culture into your culture. And it's like, you're not interested in learning about their culture or kind of mingling together while maintaining your own identities. You're only interested in assimilating other people into yourself. And
like the Borg.
Or, like the Borg, or like the machine. It's always machines that we picture as doing this. I'm thinking of the Matrix right now. It's just like you harness people, and they can exist, but only insofar as they serve your purposes.
As long as you conform to the status quo.
So on a cultural level or a personal level, that is what I do not ascribe to. And if any point I realize that is the way in which I am acting, I will not do that. And we've likened that to like, we'll see. I that is what I'm attempting to do.
But I love the bump, bro. Don't tell me otherwise. You say
but
with all that being said.
5x5s, Omar. And I mean, that can be in your relationship with your significant other, with your boyfriend, with your girlfriend, whatever, where you won't let them be who they are. They have to be who you want them to be. Or like you see this people, they'll like marry somebody and they're trying to fix them.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't even like them or marry them. You have enslaved this person in a relationship with you so that you can turn them into somebody else. That's true of slavery. That's true of human trafficking. That's true of, and let me harp on rap here. Mr. Rogers talking about pimps and hoes. Like if you're talking about like actually pimping people out, and this is what you glamorize and you think is okay and good, you got a problem there. I'm just gonna say that. I feel pretty strongly enough. And
Garrett's like, I'm putting
comfortable enough. Yeah.
Hey, what
you
the
said
heck?
I don't preach too much.
You're like, what the heck?
Like that is not okay. Like you can't enslave other people and you can't enslave other cultures. And when I talk about my faith, like because that drives, if you want to, maybe I can pick up some haters. It might be interesting.
You need your first hater, bro. That's how you know you've made it.
It'd be my first because I don't have any on YouTube, and I would challenge anybody to be open about their actual beliefs. You don't hear people talk about that very often. Sometimes people will throw like a Bible verse in posts here and there. There's a lot of USAPL lifters at the top level.
Garrett, my favorite is the cognitive dissonance that occurs. I'm not going to call the Instagram girl, but she'll put like a psalm or like something, and she's like doing like a butt pose.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, like that's no.
Yeah. And it's like, and it would be great.
It
would be great if we lived in a world where people could look at that and just appreciate her beauty.
Yeah.
But most of the people who view that will simply objectify her.
Yeah.
And because it's through our phones where, I mean, gosh, you can, there was, I have worked, I haven't done it so much this year. I've been working on some other projects, but I've worked with kids at a church for about 6 years. And just in passing and learning like what kids are doing and what games they're playing, like you got all sorts of weird games where you'll do things like in your video games or even like apps where it's like
they're like age inappropriate.
Horrible things. They're totally inappropriate. They're
like Grand Theft Auto for like a 6-year-old kid.
It's not even age inappropriate. It's human inappropriate.
Yeah.
Like why? What is going on?
It devalues what it means to be human.
Yeah, like torturing a Gumby or something like that. Like why is this an app? Why does this exist? I don't know the name of it. I hope nobody goes out there and gets it or buys it if you have to buy it. But it's like why would anybody? Why? What's going on here? What pattern of behavior is this reinforcing? Well, and again, this is like I feel like I'm saying to like be careful with that music you listen to because it's going to impact
you.
Be
careful.
What you put in does impact you. You all out there, how many of you are wearing your Rascal apparel and your bandanas right now? It's because of what you watched. Yeah. And you look like this goober over here, Omar.
135-pound deadlifter. I once held the record until someone did 136 pounds. No, but no,
it does impact you. And again, I'm not going to say like you play Grand Theft Auto, you're going to go murder cops.
No.
I'm not saying that. That's obviously that's insane. I think there's a level. But it's the more subtle things. And
I do see a general increase, I feel. And there's many things. I know there's research showing time spent on the internet, but a general increase in apathy, we can say, amongst people. That disconnect. Because you see crazy shit on your phone, and then you see...
real life stuff that's not as bad.
Yeah.
But if you hadn't seen the stuff on your phone, you wouldn't have been desensitized.
Yeah.
And if anybody's interested, there are a lot of correlation. It's hard to say exactly what causes it, but time online does have a negative impact.
You listening to this will make you a worse person.
Yeah, exactly. But not all time. Let me be specific. The most recent, I work at a university. We had a student development meeting where they brought in a prominent speaker in psychology, and she's looking at iGen, which is the generation after millennials. They don't have a set. She is trying to make the name.
Yeah.
But since what was it? Generation X. Yeah. Which is that millennials?
Generation Y, and then there's millennials.
It's Generation X or Generation Y. Then it's Gen X.
Yeah.
Millennials wouldn't let themselves be called that, so they call themselves millennials. So we're not going to go Gen Z.
Yeah.
It's probably
the hashtag generation, bro. Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably iGen.
Yeah.
The name hasn't been decided yet, but what they know is that people who spend more than like an hour online a day have diminishing exponentially returns on their happiness scales.
Oh, for sure.
Past that. And it's
Everyone's
because
fighting for them
but it's
likes,
not,
bro.
The people with no technology with 0 hours also have a very high or a very low score on the happiness scale as well. And it's probably because in the world we live in, those people must be like the antisocial, no friends, no connections. Like you're really going out there. So there's a moderate level, and that moderate level where it's like hour and a half is because they're productively using technology for its intended purpose
rather than just
vapidly going through. I have noticed a marked increase in my attitudes and my behaviors by not just scrolling through Instagram feeds.
Just before this podcast, you were yelling, dude, where the hell are the likes? I expected 300 likes.
Yeah.
I'm 3 likes under this.
I was so mad about the post that you put. Yeah.
Infuriated. You're like, bro, you could have chose a bet.
No, it's very similar to addictions, and it can be great, but it can be harmful. Like anything, moderation and moderation in all things. I'm except for moderation. I'm going to say except, not including moderation. They say about the
SIP,
don't go all out. Don't rip your back with your squat and then pass out on your deadlifts because that is not a recipe for long-term success.
Garrett, only Sith deal on absolutes.
Everything
has to come back. No, I'm circling all the way around until I pass out, bro. Like I was saying, because you said something interesting because you also talked Russian philosophy. I enjoy a lot of Russian literature, and that's why I mentioned that movie off camera. Andrei Tarkovsky. Tarkovsky. Andrei Rublev is his movie. It's called. Yeah. Which is a really, really interesting movie, but it's about kind of Orthodox Christianity without being preachy. But some of the things you say, because correct me if I'm wrong, I'm kind of speaking a little bit as an outsider here, that are there not certain faiths where you said about good works don't erase bad works? Are there not some faiths that Christian faiths that ascribe to the notion that if you, as long as you're saved again or you repent fully, like fully within yourself, that you're like almost instantly absolved of those things, and that
you're getting into heaven free card.
You get it. I'm like, what? This sounds amazing.
That's a little tongue in cheek because I do think so. Here's what it is. Here's how I understand it. If you want me, I'll explain this quickly, and then we can move on to other stuff that you're on. So the rest you just skip forward about 5 minutes, and you don't have to hear this. But here's how I see it. There are definitely groups of Christians that will believe something. They usually focus a lot upon the mercy of God, which is where you don't get what you deserve, which would be like separation from God because you are not holy. You've been blemished through your sin, and therefore you cannot be in the presence of this holy God. So there's certainly a tradition. You could read that through in Scripture. Yeah, okay. I focus and come from a tradition that focuses more upon the grace of God, which is where God gives you what you don't deserve. So instead of not getting what you deserve, which would be a negative, God gives you something you don't deserve. He gives you this positive. And salvation, though it would start with the forgiveness of sins, which I think is a very important piece because at that point, you're no longer earning. You're not doing something to get anything. In fact, you've changed the whole paradigm. You don't do things to get things. I mean, all business, all, like if you
Something
look at like Nietzsche,
yeah,
his understanding of the Übermensch, everything is about you. Everything is about getting to the top of the heap.
Yeah.
The Superman, the Uberman, the Overman, the one who is at charge, the Caesar, the Emperor.
Yeah.
This person is the one who is basically one in his philosophy. My opinion, that person is the one who is most alone and
the
only
most empty
ever
also.
is surrounded by those who are looking to tear him down.
Yeah.
But or her down.
Yeah.
Sorry, let's gender neutral. Let's go. But in Christianity, if you're forgiven by God, you have no reason to serve him except out of love. And this teaches you to do things without a quid pro quo relationship, not a you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. You've already been given everything you would want from God. Now you have this opportunity, this freedom, where you now have the choice, okay, I can take this freedom and use it to continue my life, or I can use this freedom as I'm enabled by God's grace to lovingly obey. It's not like you're forced. You don't have to. You can definitely see that.
Freedom of
sometimes
choice.
I wish that I was forced because I would like to be 100% obedient to God without having to try. Luckily, God is faithful and graceful enough to not have given me that sort of control where I lost my personhood and was absorbed into like some weird God mind that just controls
the
me.
Borg.
Yeah, basically, that's not how God works. Instead, God has invited me into a relationship where I can now live in a different way. And one of the prerequisites, as I see it, is that I entered that freely. I didn't have to earn it. And it starts to teach me that I don't have to engage in relationships in this life and in this world where I'm always getting something back. Like I can actually love somebody and give something freely.
Unconditionally.
Yeah. So
and without expecting anything in return.
Yeah, and you have to temper that. Again, business will never be that way because we all have to eat. We live in a world where there is a scarcity of resources and we have to pay for things. So
there's no weight classes in the jungle, bro.
Oh, yeah, that's for sure. There's no powerlifting in the jungle either. So, yeah. But anyways, there's survival in the jungle, which is probably...
There's malaria in the jungle.
Yeah, there's malaria in the jungle. There's death in it. There's spiders in the jungle.
Oh,
there's spiders here, though, man.
People don't know,
like
you have a little bit of
arachnophobia. I save spiders when I can, though. But sometimes if they're on me, they've gone too far.
Yeah,
I don't
have...
It
ends. I'm going to take a flamethrower.
My Christianity it takes
Grace only extends itself so far. I just wanted to add a quick point, though, and that's why I bring it up, because we were talking off camera. Yeah. Crime and Punishment, I know Jordan Peterson talks about it. I think there's more kind of indirect discussion of like either faith or spirituality in some of those works where like the whole concept with the main character, Raskolnikov, and that's why I call it Rascal of Peril, is that he wanted to transcend the normal kind of moral plane that most people exist in, because he wanted to be like the Napoleon. He wanted to be like kind of like that Ubermensch, but his consciousness didn't allow him to do that. When he did murder someone in cold blood, he immediately had that kind of crisis of faith within himself, and he discovered that that he was not able to transcend past that he thought he would be, to be this great man, what he thought what it meant to be a great man.
Yeah, and I think when you find that it's the same with when I set the records, and some people I was at least for some reason intelligent enough at that point to know that it wouldn't change anything.
It just like
my life was still my life. It didn't matter. People at Convoy Strength still don't know who I am.
What the hell, man? You should have said I'm Garret Blevins. You got to say I'm the Garret Blevins. You just got to add the before.
I don't think
so.
Yeah, I don't think my head is so big.
Yeah.
Maybe if my deadlift is stronger, it'll be able to support that.
Yeah.
But it's like I think it was Tom Brady who said it after winning a Super Bowl.
After he said deflate this football.
Yeah. They asked him like I think it was after he'd won a few, and they asked him which one mattered most to him, and he said the next one.
Yeah.
And that's how it is. Any of you that think glory comes with whatever achievement of whatever goal that you're pursuing, it is so fleeting.
Yeah.
You're going to have the post-meet blues. You are going to have, the letdown after you've made the business deal, especially if it's with Kaizen.
Yeah. Oh, no. You're like, what am I doing?
What did I sign up for?
Hey, I want you to talk about, because I remember this, and this is absolutely
podcast?
True. You're going to say, third. We're going to move by the end of the fourth word. Oh, hey, whoa. Hey.
There's 10 commandments.
My ego can only get so big. Yeah. I was going to say,
shall not podcast.
I was gonna say that you were gonna call me out at the start of this podcast. I know, because I am terrible with this, and that's why I now have an assistant.
Terrible person as well.
The worst, the fourth worst, actually. I remember I said I was gonna send you a shirt the Soviet, and
years
it didn't
ago,
happen.
I made
and
a
now
video.
I got your shirt, bro. Today.
Yeah, well, I am
4 years later. Come on, man.
It doesn't have collosus on it, though, and that was a pretty sick collosus shirt back in the day.
It was great.
I do think that you mentioned being out of stock, but that you were getting a new
That's
stock
probably just an excuse.
soon.
I'm man enough to admit that was just a bullshit.
You just lied to me. Totally lied. Yeah, I see how it is.
Yeah.
So
and now I got you in my living room. This is full circle.
Full circle.
You think that's water inside your
shirtless
container, bro?
in his room.
Yeah.
Wait, what? Huh?
This is I'm pretty sure this is the path down flex shows. This is how someone was just told. I remember when I first heard that. Not like let's talk about classier topics with you, and that's why there's a Shaco story.
I gotta keep it PG.
Which is with you. I'm like
I said though, the Bible's X-rated. I mean, you got some weird stuff going on.
We were talking about
we were talking
Abraham
about you can't teach Genesis to kids. I mean, the first few stories are okay, but I mean. What about the mass genocide of all humans and everything but like two animals? You got the flood, man.
Oh, the flood. Yeah,
I'm talking about the flood. That one's pretty hard to deal with. Like
everyone, well, even where they talk in Sodom and Gomorrah, where the whole city is turned to pillars. Like the people are destroyed. By the fire. And his wife turns back, and she turns, and then his daughters get drunk. And they have sex with him one night after the other. This is they're his daughters, so that they can have offspring. And again. The Bible often has a lot of description, not prescription. Right.
This is describing events, not prescribing events. Yeah. What you should do, that is. So just don't take that as the Bible said it, so I'm going to do it. Oftentimes it's horrible, and people will miss that at times. That's when the Bible gets used horribly, is when people look at a description and turn it into a prescription, and that can be a major issue. You need to look at the context. This is just showing how bad things have gotten, how crazy it's gotten.
And it's been used in the past. Like I know, like with slavery and whatnot, they would go to like specific passages of like the Old Testament or whatnot. Where it's like where they're talking about like, well, here's how we did it or whatnot.
Yeah. And there's a slow progressive consciousness, like a cultural consciousness that shows up through Scripture.
Oh, yeah.
The statements about slavery in the Old Testament are like protections.
Yeah.
But it's not yet undermining the fundamental logic of slavery. Again, if you have a God that, like, within religion or in Christianity, there's a Calvinist version of God where God just, like, plants faith in people and he kind of controls them. It's a much more like we're chess pieces upon the board of life. That's not the version or the way of reading that I ascribe to.
Sure.
I don't interpret that way. How I read it is that God is involving and synergistically working with people and inviting them, even as God invites the creation into existence, let there be.
Yeah.
God is inviting people into a new way of life, but he's not taking away their will. So God can't come down because people can't know what they can't know. Sometimes you can't push someone so far outside where they currently are that they just understand a new way of life. You can only really do one paradigm shift at a time. So instead of like abusing slaves, the laws in the Old Testament are like, remember when you were slaves in a foreign land, so to get that empathy in there, and treat the people how you would like to have been treated when you were in Egypt.
And when you talk about a culture, I feel we're even experiencing that.
And by the way, it's gone much further at this point to where we are now at love your enemies and consider the needs of others before your own.
Yeah.
So that's where the paradigm shift is currently at, just to clarify.
Yeah. It's like and also the context at the time of some of the other laws where there's what was it, Hammurabi's the Babylonian guy code where where there's a few different things. When you consider some different areas, it's interesting to see either how things have progressed in certain areas or certain cultures, or how advanced some areas may have been at the time, or also how they've regressed. Like let's just say like certain areas of the world all over.
Definitely, yeah. Well, and if you look at the Genesis narratives and you look at it more of a like, if you look at it as not a myth in the sense of not true, but a myth in the sense of explaining the core nature and the fundamental aspects of reality, which is what myths do. Myths are powerful not because they're not true, but because they're the most true. In the way that, like, when I talk to my wife and I'm like, my heart is overflowing with love, I don't mean that there's like this fluid in my heart that's literally like, but a poetic statement can often be more true, more powerful than an exact scientific statement.
That's art in general, which is why I think it resonates with people. When you watch something, you have an emotional connection.
It's why you tell those stories for thousands of years. You don't read the newspaper from 1,000 years ago to your kids every night because it's an accurate depiction, which it probably isn't, because that's still perceived through anyway.
Absolutely. No, I know what you're saying.
You don't do that. You teach and you share the things that are deeply meaningful. But in the story, you've got right after Adam and Eve disobey God in kind of a minor way. their children,
that's why I don't eat apples to this day, bro.
Cain kills Abel.
Yeah.
And then as Cain goes away, God puts a protective curse on him that says, if anyone harms you in like retribution, eye for eye type thing, they will be like cursed sevenfold. Then you go down a few generations from Cain, and this guy kills somebody else, like Cain killed Abel. This descendant of Cain kills someone, and he says, if Cain was avenged 7 times, then I'll be avenged 77 times. There is an exponential escalation of violence that occurs until, as the Bible says, the whole world was filled with such violence that God hits the reboot button.
He's like,
and then promises never to hit it again.
He's like a guy playing a video game. Like, I need to reset
I need to return to previous save. I need to go back to a smaller group and start over.
Fucked here with this current party.
It's a little unfortunate. Like, take 2.
I made a mistake.
So, but that's how the logic of the story goes. And then from that, you move through to the Mosaic Law, in which you have the prescription of eye for eye, tooth for tooth, which is a fairness. It's not what happened with Cain, nor with, I believe it's Tubal. No, is it Lamech? I think Lamech's the one who's the 77th.
Bro, you're about to get roasted by some biblical scholars.
Man, sorry.
The one person that
should know that
Ben Rice.
We've reached it. Fifth worst podcast. We've now gotten there. Inaccurate information. But then you get eye for eye, tooth for tooth. And then you move, the next culture shift that you really see is when you have Jesus say, you've heard it said, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. But I say,
turn the other cheek. Yeah.
If the Roman soldier forces you to carry his gear a mile, go 2. If someone asks for your coat, give them your shirt too. And it's about considering the needs of others as more important than your own needs. Philippians 2 talks about that. And people just, especially, it's hard to do that. That's not like an easy thing. That's contrary to every evolutionary tactic that we have learned inside, because it's a long game. It's not an instantaneous thing. It's like, okay, I can make this like treaty with you and we can share this land, or I can keep the land all for myself and we can fight. Well, if I kill you and try to keep all the land, then your descendants are going to come over here and then we're going to fight. And then we end up with basically the Middle East, which has been at war for 4,000 years and is still going on today. So was it really the most optimal, best way to exist to try to take all the land for yourself? No, it was not. It was not the best option. But again, you have to think on a multi-generational level, bringing it back to training.
Oh no, I want to talk about Huckleberry Finn, bro, because Mark Twain is my author. You've read Huckleberry Finn?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Which, like, you know, he makes that whole kind of illusion, which is super powerful when you talk about the idea of like Mr. Rogers and washing that dude's feet. That Jim is basically like the allegorical figure in that story of Jesus almost, and Tom Sawyer is kind of like the devil, and Huckleberry Finn is humanity trying to make that call. I think is the way I kind of interpret it.
Yeah, you could.
But there's that generational thing where there's 2 families that are fighting, and in the end, what basically it devolves into is there's that boy who's Huck's age, I think, which is like 10 or 11, with a gun, and the family feud between the 2 has gone so bad that boy's gunned down in front of like Huckleberry Finn, just in cold blood, because it's devolved to that level.
Yeah, it's crazy, and it does destroy itself, and it is short-sighted, and yet every generation has wars. We all have our wars. We're all fighting. We're all too stupid to learn, because it's hard to stop the cycle. If you're a Christian and you look at Jesus nonviolently resists, ultimately resulting in his death. He states explicitly he can call down all these angels to fight and do this stuff. His disciples try to fight for him.
Yeah.
Everyone believed that Jesus was being the Messiah that was expected to lead a military revolt, topple the current
said, nope.
The current ruling officials that were Jewish, fight off the Romans, and regain the sovereignty of the land. That is what the Messiah was supposed to do. And then to gather all the Jewish people that had been dispersed around the world back, which is also why a lot of Jewish people say Jesus was not the Messiah, because he didn't establish Israel.
Sure.
He didn't bring all the Jewish people back into the land, and he did not establish himself as a king.
But he didn't turn water into wine, bro. Come on.
Yeah, I know. That'd be great. If we could turn some water into coffee, I'm bitter. I'm bitter like my coffee isn't, because it's not here. No, sorry.
I was going to say that that's kind of the people that are most remembered, though. Like, you look at Martin Luther King, where it comes to like peaceful resistance, or Gandhi, the same idea.
What he overcame.
Yeah, the British Empire, brah.
Yeah. Gandhi takes on the British. MLK takes on the U.S.
Yeah.
The most powerful people cannot stand. Look at Jesus. Dude's 2,000 years old. How many other people from 2,000? What was the name of the Caesar when Jesus was around?
Yeah.
If anybody can tell me the name, I'll be excited.
Augustus Octavius.
Who was after him?
How many
till Nero?
I'm trying. Yeah, because
Nero, you probably.
So I like
Steps from Hell has an album called Nero.
Okay, I'm honestly no, it's definitely not. Cicero's the wrong one. Who's the one after? There's
Isn't it
Caligula.
Look, but even for us to Caligula was in there. There's a bunch. There's a couple.
But even I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah, here's the point. But we all know who Jesus is.
Yeah.
We even use him as like a curse word these days. I mean, he comes out all sorts of people's mouths.
Yeah.
But the point is, if you want to stop the cycle of violence, if you're not going to go eye for eye, guess what happens? When someone takes your eye, you have to do what? Nothing.
Yeah.
Somebody has to be willing to make that step. It's like if you got two people in a relationship and they're just screaming at each other,
nothing's
just going at
solved.
it. That's not going to work. That's going to escalate and it's going to be bad. Who is going to take the first hit, look at themselves, see where they were wrong, and then hopefully the person you're talking with will see you do that and then see where they were wrong, and then you can both say you were wrong, and then you can love each other.
Then they just clock you in cold blood. Yeah. No.
But if you expect perfection or you think you're perfect, you're never going to be able to get there. You have to accept that you're flawed, and then accept that that's okay. And hopefully find some other people around you that can accept that they're flawed, and then still know that even as they're flawed, they're still worth being accepted. And then as they acknowledge you're flawed, or you acknowledge you're flawed, they're going to accept you. Garret. And then we could all get along. We can all hold flowers and sing songs in circles or whatever.
So you're wearing shorts right now, and I'm wearing pants because I don't have.
On. Let's keep those. I don't want to swap.
I'm trying to
sweater swap situation.
I'm bringing this up. I'm bringing up this topic because I want to take off my pants. I want to show you something here. It's not what you think. It is my calves. You said you accept people for who they are.
I know you're lying.
Can you
because
accept
there
me?
are no calves underneath those pants. So you can just
so
stop.
this whole accepting thing was just made up, bro. I was opening myself, exposing myself.
Hey.
See, this is why people can't get along. I feel betrayed.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna order some Ben and
Judas
Jerry's.
Is here and apologizes.
Yeah. I wasn't gonna say Judas, but I was thinking in my head.
But that's what you're thinking.
Or Caesar when he was betrayed.
Judas's kiss is not. That was Jesus.
Or I would say A2 Brute then, like you two, like
I'll
you,
shake
like
your hand
you.
as I leave. Probably quickly at this point.
Quick topic we said
we're
about
at 6 now, right?
What? Sixth worst?
Yeah, I think we're there.
I would
is
say.
your running gag.
And on this,
did you order the pizza yet? Can they bring coffee? Does
Little
coffee
Caesar
come with pizza? Has anyone tried to order coffee from a pizza
So
restaurant?
I think I should tell you that we have a special plant here. It's called cocaine. It's inside. This is I don't know. It's medicinal. Okay, I don't know. It's medicinal.
Cures what ails you, eh?
I was gonna say. Well, back in
Where's
the day.
the A's? You never say.
Am I a Canadian disappointment?
You are an American disappointment. I am the American. You're disappointing.
I am the most proud. Actually, I think I told you that about Toronto.
You're the most proud, eh?
I'm the most proud of being Canadian. Now you're just gonna add it at the end of everything. I always talk about Canada. I talk it up because I live in Toronto. I love Toronto, and I'm like, Canada should be fucking paying me to talk about Toronto this much.
All of their tourism is due to Omar Isaf.
What did I say to you?
People keep showing up at the border. Where's Omar?
He's nowhere. He's like,
you don't even have a picture of him at the border.
Because I live outside of McDonald's.
Can they
as I told
put
you,
your
dude.
head on like the stop sign for like the things they pull up to let cars in?
Oh
Whatever
no.
Those are.
I would be so honored.
I never see those.
I would say that, I've told you though. Like I said, Garret, you need to come up to Toronto. Like I tell everyone that. Ryan, who's here, I tell everyone like, you need to come up to Toronto.
That city's grown 5 times in like the last 20 years.
Yeah, it's
they're all his subscribers.
They're all people that are hating on my calves right now. That's why. Why do you think
How can they hate on something that doesn't exist?
It's like a mathematical impossibility. Like talking about zero.
I hate zero.
Wait,
you hate
0
nothing?
plus
No,
0?
I hate zero.
Yeah, I hate zero.
I hate it so much. I hate it with the power of zero.
I was going to mention briefly because we talked a little bit about philosophy, something that I like, and it's it's actually debatable when we talk about philosophy. Stoicism. Do you?
Sure.
Yeah, because I was going to say Marcus Aurelius.
I don't actually agree with it.
Yeah. Oh, you don't?
I like a lot of the principles.
Seneca as guiding heuristics of ways to live your life, not as a.
I like the lack of reactivity that they have.
Yes,
that is super good.
But you're going to say the opposite. So when you say the lack of reactivity and negativity
out on the enjoyment of emotions.
Life. Yeah. So
they lose that part. Like they were. You can have both. You can have your cake and eat it too, people.
You ever read Nassim Taleb where he talks about like risk aversion or black swan? Yeah. So very cool stuff. So basically exposing yourself. So YouTube is an example of that minimal, no risk whatsoever, but maximum return. So like if you start a YouTube channel and it eventually blows up, you could go from making like $0 to, let's say, like gamers,
like
multi-million. It's 20 whole dollars. So his whole concept is exposing
only
yourself
20 hours
to,
of editing
later.
Free money,
Shaco.
guys.
No, we're gonna close out with Shaco, bro.
It's like the money just pours in from AdSense.
Do you have 20 hours? Yeah, it's for 20 cents.
Best money ever made.
So it's exposing yourself to things that have minimal risk but maximum reward. And so I kind of know what you mean when it comes to stoicism. The concept reacting.
That's why they're not paying me anything.
It's good faith.
They don't know how bad I said. They don't know how bad I can hurt them now.
I said, Garrett, it's good works, bro. I said we're changing the world. I said I think this is what was talked about. And you're like, I said, changing the world, bro. Making people stronger. You're like,
making people have calves is what I thought. It's like, if everyone could have calves, it'd be worth it.
The world would be a much better place. It'd be a more stable place to stand on.
Yeah, like stable, not falling over.
So he talks about obviously exposing yourself to positive outcomes. And stoicism, I know what you're saying. We're
not videoing this, did we?
No.
Okay, good.
No.
I'm glad people can't see what I'm doing.
Where you're like, oh my.
Seizure over here.
So they talk about it about not reacting too negatively to anything bad that happens to you. That makes sense. But I know what you mean when they say also when something good happens.
Nothing. It's like it's still water.
It's removing yourself.
It's a pond with no ripples, and it's like. I need the wind of the spirit to move you.
So part of that,
you need to break wind.
Break like the wind. I was gonna say that I get what you're saying about reacting to positive things. Like you should enjoy yourself, but part of that is kind of it almost was stoic of you to recognize that it was fleeting. You at nationals taking that record. You know what I mean?
I did not have the emotional high afterwards.
Yeah,
it's true. I did lose that.
Like this Epicurean delight where you're like, I'm invincible.
Yeah, like it would have been good, but I also. Never mind.
What were you gonna say? Whoa!
Right.
We've talked everything.
You
said your big love.
If we've talked religion, I guess I can say this.
You said you've talked for the big love for Big J.
Yeah. Really need to step up in general.
Just say it. Yeah.
I just think we need to have. All right. So
what does that
mean? The squat needs to be at 800.
Okay.
The bench needs to be at 550, and the deadlift needs to be at 850. Now those are arbitrary numbers. I'm not trying to put limits on myself. If I pull 850, though, I'd be real happy with that limit.
Sure.
At this point in my life, but it should be higher. There are people who have put those together kind of separately or more than that. Like you look at Dennis Cornelius's squat.
Yeah, like
he hit 900 in the gym. Maybe
with
it was
whip,
high, but he's hit like 8 something.
But that bar was also so whippy that I'm going to give it to him.
His rack is also a 16th of an inch of metal. Like I don't understand how those. I'm so scared for him just every time. Somebody please send him. If Rogue
can we do a GoFundMe?
We know you have racks.
Yeah. Like the man needs the rack.
What I mean is lifting racks, and you need to send a 3/4 inch gauge over there or whatever, 3/4 gauge, whatever it is, the monster rack. Help poor Cornelius out. He's going to die, and we're going to lose a great lifter. But maybe, I don't know, maybe he'll squash half his leg off, and then he'll come down to the 105s and still squat more than us.
Or come back stronger.
Again, and I'm not trying to hate on any of the people in the 105s.
You're talking about
maybe
yourself,
I'm just
though.
talking about I am, but I also maybe I'm talking about how great the 205s and the 265s are. Whatever I'm sorry,
pounds,
standard,
kilos. I use
standard.
both. Yeah.
Anyways, so it needs to be better. I hope that I'm talking about me 10 years from now. Like when I look like have I hit my peak? No, I have not.
Yeah.
I have not trained suboptimally or optimally. I've trained suboptimally.
Yeah.
I look at my knee valgus that is consistently present. I did not take care of myself. Am I going to have to learn and do new things? Yeah, I'm going to have to invest. I'm going to have to invest in probably at least once a week going and getting ART just to keep myself open, because I can manage a lot of the fatigue and the soreness, but the areas that I have to work on, I can't get with a roller. I can't get with a lacrosse ball. I just cannot seem to get into these areas the same way that I can if I have somebody help me.
Someone else touch you. I get it. I feel better when someone touches me too.
Yeah, it's an important thing. But I do think that doing things for yourself where you're getting blood flow to areas and your body is healing itself, doing those is better than getting a passive massage. But there are certain things where you sometimes need to break something up and have someone assist you with that, or do it like if you're rolling out doing your mobility work to be able to get the blood flow into those areas, because you can't even move through the motions and activate them because you're so locked up. So again, it's not the only thing I'm going to do. I've been spending most of my time doing more bodybuilding, pump-focused workouts lately. And it's been some
swole arms, yeah.
Still small.
I don't know how.
I tried to flex and look big. In my head, the pump was amazing.
Yeah.
Zero veins.
The photo
was very disappointing.
There were zero veins in the photo.
I felt like a mail order bride,
Well, and
photos great.
Who says that's a bad thing? Oh, the reality is something totally different.
It's totally different.
Garrett,
fake pictures. Photoshop exists.
Fake reality,
people.
bro.
Yeah,
well, it's just called. You know what? That's what
reality.
You don't
just
know.
Like calves.
You don't know. Brad Castleberry. So I can't crack the world record jokes. I can't. I'm not.
Is this fake weights? Is this the bodybuilder that says he's stronger than everybody but never shows up?
Yes.
Was this the one that Big Boy ambushed?
Yes.
Maybe. Okay.
Yes.
I knew it. It took me a minute.
Hey, there you go.
I needed the coffee. I would have had it earlier.
Yeah.
No,
we
I
don't
did not even look that up.
Coffee's for closers, bro.
This is just like when I thought I hadn't put in my notice for my classes to petition them, and then I realized I had. I did know who Castleberry was.
It was
I didn't.
Brad Castleberry. Boom. Yeah. That's what he does after.
The story I'm referencing is far too boring to tell. Just know that it was an out of body experience where I forgot I filled out a lot of forms and talked to somebody like 10 times over the course of a year.
I thought I was in a fifth dimensional tesseract by the end of it. It was.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
It was all right. I was gonna say, Garrett, I want to now pivot to the final countdown of the conversation.
Tables.
Well, I'm in a circle right now, and I feel like throwing up. Why is it the conversation is like circles on circles?
Yeah. Seventh host wants to throw up on show. Seventh podcast.
Wait till you see what
We'll
happens
get to the
next.
10th circle of hell soon.
Dante's Inferno. That's a good.
That's
you read
a weird
that?
book. Yeah, it's so good.
It's interesting. Well, it's weird how like mathematical like his
whole thought. Interesting dude. He would have liked Excel. He would have been all about Russian programs in Excel. I can tell just from the way he works it out.
Just by how orderly like
deadlift
hell
with
is
the bar through your spine for 7 reps for all the lies you've told.
It's interesting. It's etched in my mind.
Face pulls till your face moves to the back of your head.
Yeah, he was thinking about very serious things. Tell me a little bit about this project you're working on for Kaizen. Plug time. Because you told me after, and I had the interview with Shaco, sat down, hung out with him for an entire week. 4-hour interview, and the first thing he said is like the programs floating around that are called the Shaco program. For those that don't know, Boris Shaco, he's probably the most legendary powerlifting coach, a Russian powerlifting coach, arguably a powerlifting coach ever.
Belichick of powerlifting.
He's the Belichick of powerlifting, using the New England Patriots analogy. He made it clear that the programs floating around, the Shaco programs people see, have used, and be like, man, this is a high volume. I think he said that was a 15-year-old girl, a client of his, a specific program, someone that was a beginner. It's just like a complete wrong fit. It's not at all a representation. He talked a lot about programming. You now spent 20 hours. You are quite adept when it comes to programming, understanding it, the needs of any lifter. You have helped so many people get stronger. You took a look at it, and you're like, wow, this is actually different even than what I was expecting. Can you just talk me through what you mean?
Yeah, so, again, it will sound like plug time. Anybody that gets it, or when it's eventually stolen and released to the public, I'm sure. People will see. It's not like any program I have seen. It has exercises I have never seen. But, again, all of you could do this with the barbells you already have. It's just a way in which it's written is not what I've seen. It is not easy to follow. So basically, I started programming it in preparation for distribution with Kaizen, so we can get rolling. It's not ready yet, unfortunately, but we're working on it as fast as we can. It came in, and I was really excited about it. So I sunk 20 hours over the last 2 days into getting it. Half of it. It's not even all of it. I got half of it into a format where I could start to run some numbers and get a feel for it. Yeah. Because in reading through the program, I could not follow his logic. It was too complicated. It was too complex. The programming, like as far as what you do, is not so complex, but the way in which it builds and causes adaptation, and the way in which he rotates exercises, it's not like day 1 you're going to do squat and bench, and then like day 1 on week 1, and then day 1 on week 2 is the same thing with 5% higher. It is not like that. It's far more complex. This is coming from his years of experience. Yeah. I got the feeling from what Omar told me that this is him trying to show himself in a way so that he can be accurately represented, at least in part, for how he would train an intermediate.
Yes, that's exactly it.
So somebody getting stronger, again, in the 12 to 26 range. There are tests in between, and there's going to be more information. It's going to be translated soon that has more detail work on how to run the program itself.
How to apply all that stuff.
It's going to have kind of like a preface to the program, so you know how to understand some of the percentages. It is percentage based. He's negative towards RPE. Although he has a number of exercises in there with no percentage listed. I'm assuming that's RPE assistance work.
Yeah. So his overall reaction to that is just what I could tell from Professor Seiko from hanging out with him. He's always about the maximum positive result. So like on the bench press, he wants to shorten the range of motion as long as it doesn't affect other things.
Using a wider grip. Or something like that. Okay.
And so for RPE, his general complaint about that is that a lifter. So the level of let's say how well you can read your own body, most lifters don't possess, and a lot of times your body can A, lie to you, and B, when you control all of the variables. So his assumption for maximum performance is that you can control other variables like your home life, your stress, all those things. Is that a coach seeing how the bar moves more than how you feel is the best way to try and figure out, you know, how a lifter is actually lifting.
Yeah, definitely. And again, to add to that, if any of you have been on RPE-based programs, it's like, oh, my RPE single at 8 this week was down 20 pounds from last week. That must mean I'm fatigued. I need to take it easy. Well, maybe that block that you're in is supposed to be 20 or 30 pounds down because it's a block that's going to dig you purposefully into fatigue.
Yeah.
So lowering your number of back offsets would not be the right call, because I don't know of any RPE-based programs, and maybe this is a good idea, is to put like recommendations for this is how you should feel on this day. But again, because of the outside factors of life, it's very hard. So a lot of you out there are going to be in college right now. Basically expect your lifting to tank by about 5 to 10, maybe even 15% around finals. Yeah. Just expect that. Lower your expectations yourself and chill out. Your muscle has not magically disappeared and you're all of a sudden weaker. I hate that people think, oh, I'm going to take 2 weeks off and all my muscle's gone. Yeah. No, it's not. Go step on a scale and tell me if you actually weigh less. Like, you didn't just change your body comp to like 8% higher body fat and lose 16 pounds of muscle in the 2 weeks that you took off. You're just not ready to display your strength. Chill out.
Yeah.
Chill out. Were you even supposed to peak then? Chill out.
As a quick aside, I remember when I first used to take these trips out to LA, the city of sin, and temptation.
And traffic.
And worse than both of those other ones.
Oh my
traffic.
Gosh. Traffic is the sin.
I remember I rolled out there and I'm like, you know what? Like I'm going out, I'm climbing with people. I got a PR, and that's actually how I pulled my back doing that the 515 with wraps. And so my whole attitude was wrong. You're traveling, it's more stressful, not because of the travel, but when I travel, I do like to work. You're not sleeping, as well. Maybe all these outside
Omar's
variables.
Just trying to make excuses
for the 135 pounds
earlier today.
And so during the pump session, I said, "Are we done?" You said, "That's the first movement." I said, "Oh yeah, no, I knew that."
Yeah. It's his program, by the way.
But I remember,
not really.
Wright's program doesn't follow. Doesn't follow them. No, I was going to say that. For lifting when I would travel, what I would do, I would try and apply myself 100% when I travel. That's not the best. You can't control all those variables. And so now I actually I make sure I train hard out around the travel, not during it. Because I always thought to myself, YouTube content, we talked about Instagram lifters, travel to a new place, got to hit a PR, would look great on video, right?
Yeah, and again, why? Are you proving that to yourself? Like, did you really lose your sense of self on that trip and now you need to find it again?
I already know I'm fat.
It's because it's because you need other people to validate who you need to feel important to them. And my question is like, why are you going to compromise yourself to improve how other people perceive you? I bet if they really knew you, they would perceive you as a person of higher value or higher importance or better self-worth. If instead you're like, hey, I know I'm traveling right now, I'm not going to be stupid. I don't know about you, but I respect people who don't make stupid decisions more than people who do. So if that makes sense to you, maybe you can start to learn in that way. I will say, just as we're talking about this program, I took it was the 16-week power building program.
Sure, yeah.
We're running kind of a variation of that where we're doing we did some bodybuilding work today after some really light like front squats just to prime our legs and get some blood flowing, and then hit through. So that's the workout we're talking about, which is pretty solid, by the way. Again, as I'm working with guys and I want to use and actually run their stuff so I get a more intimate knowledge. Yeah, you can see things on paper, but until you do it, you don't really know how it is. Some things look so easy on paper and then they're super difficult. Other times things look really difficult on paper and you do it and you're like, it wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be.
Well, it's like, have you ever tried to iron cross, the gymnastic thing?
No.
Where
It looks hard.
It's the hardest thing.
Okay, I was pretty sure.
So I was like, oh yeah, like I could do. I remember when I first started lifting, I could do like pull-ups. I could bang them out. I was like lighter. I could bang out dips. I'm like, how hard can it be just to stick your arms straight out and balance? Like I'm sure like your shoulders lock. Like just
Jesus knows.
Yeah, he said, guys, you're about to check some.
He went to failure.
Yeah, RPE 10 or was it RPE 11? RIP.
He took it to 11. Spinal tap.
He took it all the way up. Hey, bringing it all the way around.
All the way around.
Hey, Garrett, let me ask you this right now because this is, it's getting late. I don't know how long.
We've been doing it 4 hours, 5 hours.
I don't know how long a podcast is supposed to go.
Does time just go slower on the 8th worst podcast in the world?
It's 8th. Wow, we're
close.
That's too kind. You're too kind.
Too kind.
Yeah, it's been, I don't know, it's been like 2 hours, something like that. I don't know how long a podcast is supposed to be. I don't know
you
what.
don't know what you're doing. Host doesn't know what he's doing.
Hey, that has worked.
Worst podcast.
Hey, Garrett, that has worked so far, so I'm just gonna go with it. People ask, like, "What do you do to be successful?" Like whatever. I said, I don't know. Just
throwing darts in the dark.
Just start. Yeah. Just keep doing it.
If you get enough monkeys on enough typewriters, eventually they're going to write Shakespeare.
War and Peace. Oh, Shakespeare.
War and Peace.
Yeah.
War and Peace.
War and Peace actually is all-time
Shakespeare's
Stone Cold classic.
So,
yeah. It's
not Les Mis. No one can write Les Mis but Victor Hugo.
That is a work I've not read.
You need to get on that.
Hey, bro,
Do you think Tolkien's descriptions talk about like a 40-page description of Waterloo?
So you're gonna tell me
right? Have fun. First book is really good, where he's with the priest. The priest is legit.
Okay.
If I ever try to be anything, it's like the priest in Les Miserables.
Very
or
cool.
Jean Valjean. I do not want to be Javert. And Javert is a fundamentalist, and Jean Valjean is not. And that may be the best way for those who know it to describe what I've been talking about.
I try and read, honestly, these days it's hard, but like a book a month. I was reading actually for around Halloween, my first Stephen King book.
These like Berenstain Bear books? Are these like 10 pages?
Are these
hold on. No, sorry, these are coloring books. My bad.
Closing. They're comic books and they're art. I was going to say, this is how we're going to close out because I want to describe the Mandela effect to you, which I don't believe exists. But you said the Berenstain Bears. How do you spell that?
I have no idea.
Okay. So this
not on the radio.
So here's
got me.
Here's a question for you. We're going to do this live.
Belittling guest.
We're
10th worst. We made it.
10th.
We made it.
9th.
We did it.
Garrett,
we skipped.
Garrett, here's a question for you. In Star Wars, what is the line that Darth Vader says?
I know this one, so I know what to say to give you the right answer.
Oh, okay.
So he says, "I am your father."
Yeah.
But if any of you said, "Luke, I am your father," you are wrong.
Yeah, it's like so people think you're from there's actually a dude that goes to my gym that believes in like
the parallel
beyond parallel universe. He believes there's two suns. Anyways, a lot of people are freaking out because
much like Castleberg, I now remember what the Mandela effect
Castleberry, bro.
Castleberry.
You're from the universe where it's Castleberg.
It's Castleberg. Yeah, that's right. So I'm now remembering where was the coffee. I could have been so much more lucid.
There's cocaine coming, bro. So the second one is what is the line that Forrest Gump says about chocolate?
Life's like a box of chocolates. You never know which one you're gonna get.
Life was like a box of chocolates.
Really?
I believe that's the one. Yeah, but like all the they give like 18 examples like that, and it wasn't the Berenstein. I forget. It's like Bearstein instead. Like just how we even spell it. Like how you are supposed to.
It's Bearstein Bears. Bearstein Bears.
I honestly forget the exact example, but you just brought that up.
It's probably not Berenstein.
Yeah, so there's like 19 different examples that are common ones where you would think
so
like
there's a parallel universe in which this is the case.
They're just
seeping into our reality.
And the only way to identify this in the multiverse that we are in one versus the other are pop culture references.
Pop culture.
Forget anything else that happened to you. Pop culture references transcend.
This is the convergence.
This is what's happening right here.
This has got it.
Yeah, when Cooper in Interstellar.
So I'm gonna have to kill Bizarro. Well, that's DC. I really messed it up there.
But
Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm gonna have to kill myself because I'm gonna be the one to survive. Or should I consider the needs of the? We're gonna be in an impasse. We're both gonna die. Unless he's not like me, in which case he's evil.
What if he has a stronger?
Am I justified in defeating him?
What if he has a stronger deadlift than you? Should you not be the one to go
and let him?
Everybody
has a stronger deadlift than me. Does that mean all the Bryce Lewis's should live?
Hey, well, you know
what?
Wait,
in this world, am I the national? Is the alternate version of me national champion then? Or are they second to last?
I'm going to transcend that world champion.
Okay.
You're like, he can live, I'm going out.
He can live.
You're like, I'm going out, bro.
His beer's probably better than mine, too.
Oh, okay. I wouldn't go that far.
I feel sad now.
Hey, no.
I feel really sad. I need to go now, Omar.
Garrett.
I'm leaving.
Hey, where can people find you, though? Before you leave, where can people find you?
Okay, I'm back.
You're back. Okay. That was.
I forgot I could promote myself first before. That was quite.
Before you leave in pure sadness, you must first promote yourself. Like any good IG model, you guys. But you can find me if you're curious. Come on.
The story every modeling agency told their clients.
Yeah. But wait, before I go,
you leave a disgrace, you must first promote yourself.
So tell Instagram. It's what is it? It's Garret Blevins.
Garret Blevins.
Right. That's
also, I believe on Facebook. I've not tried to find myself on Facebook ever, so I don't know.
Okay.
Garret Blevins will get you to me on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram though. Not on the tubes too much anymore.
No, you will be. You will be on. You film.
If you're gonna edit it for me,
I will.
I've been too busy like feeding my daughter to edit YouTube
doing like
videos
real world family like commitments.
I'm getting old.
I'm just like at home playing video games. I'm like, I got you, bro. Like, what do you need?
Exactly.
I can do that.
Send me my T-shirt, Omar.
Oh,
Colossus Vintage Rascal Apparel. It's
4 years
on
later.
The website
no,
anymore.
it's so we might do some pop culture stuff. We actually might do some licensing with like Dragon Ball Z was one I was considering, but so I took a look at the statistics. Those that were likely to buy the Colossus one of the Dragon Ball Z were less likely to buy the other Rascal designs
because they're terrible.
Well, I wouldn't say terrible. I'd say artistic.
Both feel bad.
No, I'd say artistic. Please don't say terrible. Say artistic. You just don't understand them.
Challenged.
You just don't understand them.
I mean, challenging.
Dad, you don't understand my art.
Nature.
I said comic books. It's an art form. One day they'll be big.
We need to have a T-shirt contest where people vote.
A what T-shirt contest? That's where I'm going, bro. Like I'm just picturing Boris Shaco in a wet T-shirt contest.
Your imaginary calves are covered. I think you may be okay.
See, this is why I have a crisis of faith.
Are your imaginary calves always covered? Are they covered by zero? And can I hate them? I don't think I can.
I think they're
black on them.
I think they're a black hole if you get too close.
Because on has that spatial,
there has to be.
I can't be on something that
doesn't exist. I would say they're more like a black hole, where if you just go past kind of that event horizon, like.
They're there.
Yeah. Then you're obsessed. There's a.
No, it's a weird 3D matrix of time that the aliens have made so that I can go back and push on books for my daughter.
Well, that's kind of beautiful. It's 5 dimensions. Only love can That was the lesson in Interstellar. Only love can transcend. I liked it. I liked it in Interstellar. I liked it a bunch. No,
it was overhyped for me by the guy. I did go see it with a guy.
Yeah.
We sat with one seat. We did the appropriate seating in the movie theater. We were one seat in between the two of us. Please maintain that bro code rule.
Okay, I've never
unless you're not, and fine, you can come sit next to me. Actually, it's just it's okay.
It's okay. Is that?
I waffled. Right there on
podcast. People can't trust you.
Was that pushed me to third worst? I think this is the 4th worst podcast with the 10th worst host.
Oh, thank you.
And the 4th worst guest.
Hey.
I think that's what we're at, which gives us a grand total.
I'm not the weighted average. The weighted
further than Dante's circles go.
Oh man, that if anyone has read that it gets nutty.
Really
like the punishments, how they fit perfect. Like
they do fit. I mean, it's obviously a commentary. It's grotesque in its attempt to physically demonstrate the spiritual nature of sin.
Yeah.
So that's why it gets grotesque. It's not grotesque to be just purely weird. Everything has a meaning. But go on, see when he goes into purgatory and then ascends into heaven. They're not nearly as good, in my opinion.
He was focusing on hell for sure.
The Inferno is
definitely the most interesting.
Yeah, in my opinion. But it's good read. I read that on a plane trip to Missouri to hunt deer. When I read
really?
When I was probably 13, 14.
Okay, yeah.
Also the year where I gutted a deer, put it on my back, and carried it as blood poured down upon me.
So when you became a man, this is
basically it all went together.
Yeah, it all. So Dante's Inferno. No, I remember sometimes reading
classic drawings, some black and white pencil
did they
style.
have? Yeah, so just a question because my edition had that too. Are those the?
I think they're standardized. Yeah, I think they're pretty standard.
That's
famous
cool.
works based on it. Yeah, it's pretty regular to have those. So. They're a little weird. They're a little freaky out.
Hey, sometimes that's not a bad thing. I will say, Garret, thanks for being on the 10th worst podcast of all time. We are going to get you coffee, a.k.a. cocaine.
Coffee.
Oh, no, sorry.
I just want coffee.
If that's what you want to call it, bro.
Wada is listening.
What? Oh, Wada. Oh, right. Yeah, it's Omar. I could get
I'm pretty
pop.
sure they're your only guests to see how fake natty you are and what fake natty guests you have.
Bro, well, I gotta be honest.
I gotta drum that up. No one has accused me of using steroids in far too long.
So before, when I saw your arms, they were super juicy. I'm like, I don't know about this guy.
Then
you took your shirt off. I'm like, this guy's 100% natty.
Natural.
Yeah, this
super natty.
That's a power belly, bro.
105s are not to speak of my compatriots. Patriots too derogatorily, but you can tell.
You could tell we're natural. I would say, and final shout out is just be on the lookout then for the Shaco program. Garrett is the guy handling the Excel. He's going to intimately, and I do use that word, I don't mean it lightly, tenderly understand Shaco's. Yeah, which is super cool that someone like finally
in the sheets of Excel.
Under the sheets of Excel. Oh no, Garrett, I didn't want to say anything. I saw you getting excited when you talked about Excel. You said don't. You
Flow
said
state.
I said Excel's kind of whack, and you said don't talk about her that way. Is what you said. I was like, ooh.
I think that's a Mandela thing. I don't think I said it quite that way.
Okay, that's how I remember it. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's how it works.
Well, with that, we're going to peace out and get some coffee.
All right. Hope wherever you're at, you're doing well.
Oh, so nice, man.
So nice.
That's perfect.
That's it. But you ruined it by talking. I was supposed to have the last
I'll
word.
edit this out. This is all
We're going to talk about this off air.
This is, but we're still recording. This is like an hour on. You said, by the way, and
you forgot to hit record, didn't you? I'm just talking to myself. This was
what would
just
you do?
For you.
I remember. So last story, like this is all off, but I'm just going to share it.
Beep.
Greg Nichols and I, we filmed that Lifting Lyceum, which was we filmed it was 6 days. We filmed for 12 hours. It's like 100. Like it was an insane amount of footage.
How many minutes? How many minutes?
The squad footage had 4 hours. The final product. I just turned to Greg. I said, Greg, bro, what if like all this when he offloads the card? What if it just doesn't record? It gets corrupted and we lose it. He's like, Omar, I think I would have to end it all at this point. Like he's a very. But
I think by that he meant kill you.
Yeah.
Just that. I think he would have kept going.
Then he said, hold.
He would have persisted.
Then he said, no, I would hold your hand and I hope you would join me. Like off a break because
Thelma and Louise situation here.
And if you know Greg, he's such a positive guy. So like to hear him say that shattered my soul because I look to him like he's usually like humming like Katy Perry or something. I look to him.
What's with the Katy Perry?
I don't know. What is with these top level lifters listening to
it's not
basic
me. Is that,
like pop music?
Been my problem.
I didn't want to say it.
That's been my problem.
Yeah,
Why didn't
Katy
you
Perry.
warn me? If that's what I have to go to deadlift
Beyonce.
it.
Yeah, forget this like heroic music. Forget metal. Forget some Metallica. Taylor Swift, bro.
What was Cohen listening to?
Probably at the time Madonna.
Himself.
It was
Madonna.
Just talking. What's like Jay Cutler? Jay Cutler has a rap song.
Of the mini plates. Vanilla Ice, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, it would be incredible to ask him. Did
they have music back then?
Ed Cohn's immortal, bro.
What is his training program?
Oh, that's what you were trying to take a look.
He used to have a website. I swear it was like strength something.
Strongboys.com. He was like, Ed, what? Why do you have a website called Strongboys?
I really wish I knew. And I can't find it. Go look for it online. You find it, you let us know.
You'll win a free year of Kaizen.
A Colossus t-shirt. Omar will send it directly to you. He's been holding it for years to spite me.
Scout's honor.
Yeah.